It was June 1966, in a military hospital in Beijing. I woke up on an operating table after losing too much blood. I was embarrassed to find a handsome male doctor stitching up my wound. Then I passed out again. Here's the thing about me. I lived a past life in an apocalyptic world. I died at 23. But before I died, I managed to grab a huge storage space full of supplies from my enemy, plus lightning and wood powers. Then my soul came back to the 1960s. A month later, I was out of the hospital and sitting in a state-run restaurant. I ordered braised pork and rice, no food stamps, just cash. Then a man walked in and he was stunning. Tall, elegant, wearing a white shirt and green military pants, with gold-rimmed glasses and the most beautiful eyes I'd ever seen. I heard the waitress call him Dr. Hua. He ordered a bunch of food and casually mentioned he was here for a blind date. That got me thinking. My fiancé had been stolen by my scheming cousin Lin Shuang. So, why not crash this man's date and snag him for myself? His blind date, a woman named Wang Yan, showed up. She liked his looks but got upset when she heard he was transferring to Hainan Island. Then she freaked out when he mentioned he'd be bringing a child along. She called him a fraud and started yelling. That was my chance. I walked right up and asked if I could share the table. I told them I was his second blind date for the day. Wang Yan was furious, but Dr. Hua Qingxi actually played along and confirmed it. Wang Yan cursed us both out and stormed off. I tried to slip away too, but Qingxi grabbed my hand. Then he surprised me. He already knew my name. He was the doctor who stitched me up half a month ago. He even knew about my fiancé running off with my cousin and that I had tried to hurt myself over it. He told me life always gets better. Then he just introduced himself. Qingxi, 24 years old, military school graduate, surgeon, lieutenant colonel rank, earning 141 yuan a month. His grandfather is a top military commander in Beijing, his parents are aerospace researchers, and he has two younger brothers. His background was incredible. Meanwhile, my parents might as well be dead to me. They're alive, but they're awful people. I told him I wasn't good enough for him and tried to leave. He laughed and said, "You chased away my blind date. Don't you think you owe me a replacement?" I thought to myself, this guy didn't even like that Wang Yan woman anyway. Maybe he wants to marry me because he saw me half-naked during surgery and feels responsible? I introduced myself properly. I'm Lin Man, 18 years old, second child in my family, a college dropout with no job. My dad Lin Guosheng is an accountant at the military hospital. My mom works in the cafeteria. My older brother and his wife work at a textile factory. And my little brother is a middle schooler doing nothing now that classes are canceled. When I was 10, my aunt and uncle died. Their only daughter, Bai Shuang, came to live with us and changed her name to Lin Shuang. From that day on, my parents treated her like a treasure and treated me like trash. Whatever I liked, she took. I always had to give in to her, or I'd get yelled at and punished. I told Qingxi I wanted to marry far away, anywhere to escape that suffocating family. His eyes softened and he said, "If you think I'm okay, marry me. I'm transferring to Hainan Island next month. Will you come with me?" I said yes without even thinking. He explained that the kid he mentioned to Wang Yan was actually his 9-year-old little brother. His parents are too busy with research to look after him, especially now with students on strike everywhere. I told him I was happy to help. His brother would be my brother too. My own little brother never treated me like a sister anyway. In his heart, Lin Shuang was his only sister. Qingxi then asked me something that caught me off guard. Did I really try to kill myself that day? I shook my head. The truth is, Lin Shuang came at me with a knife, threatening to kill herself unless I gave up my fiancé. I stupidly tried to grab the knife, and somehow it ended up in my chest. I blacked out and woke up after surgery the next day. Honestly, my large chest saved my life. The fat cushioned the blow. But I nearly died. Here's the secret part. While I was unconscious during surgery, my soul traveled to the year 2088. I lived through 20 years of apocalypse, awakened wood and lightning powers, and survived by keeping a low profile at a survival base. The base leader's daughter, Zhang got jealous of me and shot me off a cliff. But before I fell, I used my vine power to snatch her magical storage necklace and electrocuted her. We both went over the edge, and then I woke up back in 1966. My powers came back with me, though weaker, and Zhang Ying's storage necklace bonded to my soul. It's filled with a fortune in supplies. I can't grow things inside it, but it holds everything I need. We finished eating at the restaurant. Huaqingzi brought back aluminum lunch boxes, so we could pack up leftovers. He told me he'd file the marriage paperwork that afternoon, and we could get our marriage certificate the next day. I warned him. My family would never agree. Worse, they'd probably dump Lin Shuang's current boyfriend and try to marry her to him instead, since they always give her the best of everything. He said not to worry. He'd bring his grandfather, the military commander, to formally propose, and he'd handle my parents. When I got home, my family was waiting to attack me as usual. My dad scolded me for going out. My mom told me to wash dishes and sweep the floor. I snapped back. Am I the family maid? Why do I do all the work? My mom said it was because I'm the only one without a job. My sister-in-law piled on, saying I'm tall and strong, so I shouldn't complain about chores. Meanwhile, my brother, my little brother, and Lin Shuang sat together chatting and laughing like one happy family, without me. Something inside me broke. I grabbed the bowls off the table and smashed them on the floor, one by one. My father screamed, "You devil child, stop." I laughed until tears ran down my face. "There," I said. "Now Lin Shuang doesn't have to wash the dishes. I don't have to wash them either. Nobody has to wash dishes anymore." Lin Shuang stepped forward with her usual act, sweet voice, innocent face. "Sister, why are you so upset? It's just washing dishes. If you don't want to do it, I can help. Are you mad because we didn't wait for you to eat?" I slapped her across the face. Hard. "Shut your mouth." She cried out like I'd stabbed her. My little brother Lin Chao rushed over to defend her, calling me stupid. I looked at him with pure disgust. I raised this kid, changed his diapers, fed him, wiped his butt. And now he treats Lin Shuang like his real sister, and me like a stranger. My older brother Lin Yang just told me to clean up the mess. I snapped. Is everyone in this family dead? Am I the only one with hands? My dad yelled at me. But I didn't care anymore. Let me explain something. Before Lin Shuang came, I thought my parents just favored boys over girls. But when she arrived, a girl, 3 months younger than me, and they showered her with love, I realized the truth. They didn't favor boys. They just didn't like me. Lin Shuang knew exactly how to play them. She'd cry about missing her dead parents, beg my mom and dad to sleep beside her. She'd say things like, "Daddy, I've never tasted canned fruit before." Or, "Mommy, I've never had a pretty dress." After every little performance, my dad would bring her treats with his paycheck. My mom would make her new clothes while telling me there wasn't enough fabric or money for mine. I was growing fast and tall. My pants were always too short. My mom's only comment was, "All you do is grow. Good thing I didn't waste cloth on you every year." When Lin Shuang got her first period at 12, she cried like a baby. My mom made me, also 12 years old, wash her bloody underwear. In winter, if I refused, I got beaten with a feather duster and denied food. I was a growing child. I had no choice but to obey. Remembering all of this made my blood boil. Then my sister-in-law Xinjing chimed in, calling me a troublemaker. I turned on her. "You've been married into this family for years and haven't produced a single child. You drag your husband to bed before dark every night, and it's all for nothing. You even leave your dirty underwear in a basin for me to wash. And you have the nerve to lecture me." I told her the real reason she sucks up to Lin Shuang, because Lin Shuang is the family favorite, and being nice to her means being on everyone's good side. Then I dropped a bomb. "Lin Shuang stands outside your bedroom door eavesdropping. She told people you're useless, all heat, no eggs." Lin Shuang whimpered. "Sister-in-law, I never said that." "Lin Man is lying." I laughed. "You live in the room right next to theirs. I live across the hall in the storage room. And by the way, Xinjing, since you're so jealous of Lin Shuang getting all the attention, remember that time you spat in her chicken soup?" "She ate every last drop." Xinjing panicked. "That's a lie. but her face told the truth. She looked at me with fear. How did I know? My mom's face went black with rage. You little lunatic, get out of this house. You upset Shuang. You upset your sister-in-law. Get out. I'm the little lunatic? Then you're the old lunatic. All you know how to do is pick up other people's trash and raise it. Lin Shuang started sobbing. Sister, if you hate me so much, I'll leave. I said coldly, then leave. Your parents are dead, but your grandparents, your uncles, your aunts, they're all alive. Why did you latch onto my family? The truth is, her grandparents were willing to take her in. But she didn't want to live in the countryside, so she clung to my parents at her own parents' funeral until they brought her home. My father shouted, if anyone leaves, it's you. Fine, I said. Then let's cut ties. I want to sever my relationship with every single person in this family. My mom lunged at me. I grabbed her wrist before she could strike. She glared at me and spat out words I'll never forget. You little lunatic. You deserve to die. I should have drowned you in the chamber pot when you were born. That's my mother. My own mother wished she had drowned me as a baby. Before I went to the apocalypse world, I used to fight back sometimes when they treated me unfairly. But every time I did, I just got beaten worse. Now I'm back from the apocalypse with a secret storage space full of enough supplies to last a lifetime. I don't need any of them. It's time to leave. The reason I'm in such a rush to get married is simple. I need to transfer my household registration out. I can't stand one more day in this house. Fine, I'll go, I said. Tomorrow I'll put it in the newspaper. I'm cutting ties with the entire Lin family, my mom sneered. You want to leave? First pay back every cent we spent raising you. And pay us retirement money too. Since you're broke, just marry Director Wang's idiot son. Then Director Wang can arrange a job for Shuang. I couldn't believe it. My own mother wanted to sell me off to a drooling fool so Lin Shuang could get a cushy job. You want someone to marry that idiot? Send Lin Shuang. And while we're at it, Lin Shuang stabbed me with a knife. Shouldn't she pay for that with her life? Lin Shuang put on her teary eyes. I didn't stab you. You ran into the knife yourself. Oh, really? Go ask the doctor whether that wound was self-inflicted or not. Cornered, she changed her story. You rushed at me. It was an accident. I let it go for now. Too many people around. But once I leave Beijing, I'll make her pay. My mom kept pushing. Yi Chun is with Shuang now. The Yi family supports them. Just be good and marry Wang Bauer. Let me explain about Yi Chun, my ex-fiancé. When I got into college, his family arranged our engagement. But the moment the political movement started, he dumped me for Lin Shuang. Honestly, he's barely taller than me, has a square block of a face, and earns maybe 30 or 40 yuan driving the hospital director around. Compared to Hu Qingzi, he's not even worth mentioning. I wouldn't take him back if he begged. Lin Shuang had the nerve to say, Sister, Wang Bauer may be slow, but his family is well off. You'd live comfortably, I shot back. If it's so great, why don't you marry him? Or better yet, marry his father. You love stealing from other people's families. My dad ordered my brothers to grab me and lock me in the storage shed. I picked up a sharp piece of broken bowl from the floor and held it up. Try me. My mom threw herself on the ground, wailing and rolling around like she always does. How did I give birth to such a monster? I'd had enough. I walked over and kicked her. When my dad came at me, I kicked him too. I don't care anymore, Mom or Dad. If you push me, I push back. Lin Shuang hid behind my brother, terrified. Even Xinjing backed away. My little brother stared at me in shock. You've gone crazy, hitting your own parents. So what? How many times did they beat me for no reason when I was a kid? I'm leaving this house today. Stay far away from me, all of you psychos. I'd already packed most of my things. I could leave anytime. The household registration book was a problem, but I'd figure that out later. My dad tried to stop me. You can't leave until you pay back what we spent raising you. I rolled my eyes. How much do you want to sever ties? We'll talk tomorrow. Stay home and wait. I knew he was scheming something. Only a fool would sit around waiting. I planned to sneak into their room later and steal the household registration document. I went in my storage room, shut the door, and lay on my bed. Outside, I could hear them talking. My dad told everyone to leave me alone for now. Just get me married off, and the house would be peaceful. My older brother Lin Yong actually asked, "Dad, are you really going to marry her off to Wang Bauer? He's an idiot who drools all day and can't even bathe himself." But my mom shut him down. She said Lin Shuang was marrying Yichen in October, and they needed director Wang to arrange a job for her before then. Getting rid of me was just part of the deal. Then Lin Shuang played her best card, the guilt trip. Mom, maybe I should give the wedding back to my sister and marry Wang Bauer instead. I hate seeing you all fight because of me. Classic move. Pretend to sacrifice yourself, so everyone rushes to protect you.
And it worked perfectly.
My mom stroked her face and said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll get you that job." As for Lin Man, marrying into the Wang family is a blessing she doesn't deserve. My mom hates me so much her teeth itch. She thinks I deserve to be struck by lightning for hitting my own parents. But here's what I think. The day she told me she should have drowned me in a chamber pot, she stopped being my mother. Back in my room, I enter my secret storage space to finally take inventory. The space I stole from Zhang Ying is enormous, about the size of 100 football fields. You can't grow anything inside it, but it holds an unbelievable amount of stuff. There are over 20 warehouses, each massive. Plus 3 mobile villas, a mobile medical station, 3 helicopters, armored vehicles, fishing yachts, speedboats, even a submarine. For now, most of that is useless to me. I checked the warehouses one by one. Warehouses 1 and 2 hold fuel. 3 has weapons and farming equipment. 4 has specimens and seeds from mutated plants and animals from the apocalypse. 5 and 6 are basically a full supermarket and department store. 7 through 12 are packed with grain. 13 and 14, purified water. 15 has cotton and cold weather supplies. 16 has mutated fruits and vegetables. 17 is more seeds. 18 is a freezer. 19 holds miscellaneous stuff, including energy crystals. And the last one? All coal. Then I checked the first villa and found the living room stuffed with boxes of gold, jade, and jewelry. Zhang Ying was rich even during the apocalypse. She hoarded wealth like the world wasn't ending. Lucky me. The second villa is a high-tech smart home, 3 stories enormous. The third villa was clearly where Zhang Ying actually lived. It's decorated beautifully. That's when I remembered my packed leftovers from lunch. "Where's my meat?" A chubby little robot waddled toward me. In a cute baby voice it said, "Hello, master. I'm Xiaoji, your butler." Those 2 portions of meat had too much oil, bad for your health, so I disposed of them. I was furious. Hu Qingxi had personally set aside that braised pork and pig trotter for me, and this robot threw them away. I threatened to scrap it into a pile of junk if it ever touched my food again. Xiaoji trembled and swore eternal loyalty. Turns out it just follows whoever controls the space. Since I own it now, I'm the boss. I told it to prepare a fancy Buddha jumps over the wall soup for dinner at 6, then lay down on the sofa. I couldn't help wondering, what is Hu Qingxi doing right now? What if his family objects to marrying me? This era is so restrictive. You need paperwork just to travel. If I don't marry someone soon, my parents might really sell me off to Director Wang's drooling son just to get Lin Shuang a job. Meanwhile, Hu Qingxi was already filling out our marriage application. He had my information from my surgery records. His hospital director raised an eyebrow. Getting married so quickly? But Hu Qingxi was determined. He told the director he was old enough, his family wanted him settled, and he'd take his wife to Hainan Island. He actually felt happy when I crashed his blind date. He thought I was tall, beautiful, and the only downside was that I was a bit young. He figured marrying someone he'd already met twice was better than marrying a total stranger. And honestly, that Wang Yan woman from the blind date had rubbed him the wrong way. Then he called his grandfather, Commander Hua. The old man was furious at first, yelling about how Hu Qingxi had chased away the woman his uncle set him up with. But Hu Qingxi explained everything. Wang Yan didn't want to go to Hainan, and he genuinely wanted to marry me. His grandfather was surprised it was serious. He insisted on doing things properly, no rushing to get the marriage certificate first. He said he'd come back from the military base, bring Hu Qingxi's parents home, and they'd all go to my family's house to formally propose. Hu Qingxi hung up and rubbed his forehead. He knew he'd need to find me before the day was over, Things were about to get complicated. I napped for about an hour inside my space, then came out to find it wasn't even 3 o'clock yet. Nobody was home, not even Lin Shuang, who was probably off hanging out with Yi Chen's sister. Perfect timing. I went to my parents' room to steal the household registration booklet. The door was locked, but that was no problem. I had Xiaoji find me a master key from the space. Click, and I was in. I opened the drawers and found the household registration and the grain ration booklet, plus some old photos. But no money, no bank books, nothing valuable. They must have hidden everything somewhere else. Clever old Lin Guisheng. No wonder he's an accountant. I grabbed the 2 booklets and headed straight to the military hospital to find Hu Qingxi. He pulled me aside right away. He'd already submitted the marriage application and gotten it stamped by the hospital director. His grandfather wanted to come propose to my family tomorrow. When I told him my parents were planning to marry me off to Director Wang's idiot son tomorrow in exchange for a job for Lin Shuang, his face changed completely. "We're getting the marriage certificate right now," he said. "Wait here, I'm going to ask for time off." Just like that, no hesitation. I liked that about him. We went to the civil affairs office and got our marriage certificate. When I walked out holding that piece of paper, it looked like an award certificate. It hit me. I actually got married today. Same day I met him for the second time. A true flash marriage. Then Hu Qingxi said we should go to the police station to transfer my household registration before they closed. I was in such a daze, I just nodded. By 5 o'clock, my registration was officially moved to the Hu family. He wanted to buy me a watch. Apparently, it's a must for weddings, along with a bicycle and sewing machine. He said the bride price would be 888 yuan. I told him that was way too much. My parents would latch onto us like leeches if they saw that kind of money. I suggested 200 or 300 at most. Secretly, I planned to give them nothing, and maybe even find where they'd hidden their savings and clean them out. After all, I was already married with my registration transferred. Once Hu Qingxi and I left Beijing, they'd never find me. We said goodbye, and he went to the department store to buy me 2 dresses, 2 bolts of fabric, a plum blossom wristwatch, plus candy, cigarettes, wine, and tea as formal gifts. I rushed home and hid the marriage certificate in my space, then snuck back into my parents' room to return the 2 booklets to the drawer and lock everything back up. Just as I was hooking the lock on their door, Lin Shuang appeared with a smirk. "Trying to steal from Mom and Dad's room? They warned me about you. Oh, and congratulations. Director Wang is bringing his son tomorrow to propose. You'll never go hungry again." So Lin Guisheng really went through with it. He'd actually arranged for the Wang family to come tomorrow. Good thing I already had my marriage certificate. Since nobody else was home, I kicked Lin Shuang to the ground. "Keep your mouth shut if you want to live." She tried to get up. I hit her with a bolt of lightning, just enough to knock her out. Her hair singed black and smoking. I dragged her to the middle of the courtyard, dusted off my hands, and went back to my room. When my parents got home and found Lin Shuang lying there with burnt hair, they panicked. My dad sniffed the air and said, "Did she get struck by lightning?" He tried to touch her but got zapped by residual electricity. They eventually got my brothers to carry her to the hospital. My sister-in-law Xinjing stayed behind and banged on my door, ordering me to come cook dinner. I opened the door, looked her dead in the eye, and said 2 words, "Not cooking, then you don't eat tonight. Fine by me." I shut the door and went back into my space. It was almost 6 o'clock, time for the gourmet Buddha jumps over the wall soup my robot butler was preparing. Zhang Ying had been the daughter of a base commander. Her cold storage was packed with premium ingredients, even meat from high-level mutant beasts. I wasn't about to eat Xinjing's cooking when I had a feast waiting for me. After Xinjing stormed off cursing my name, I stayed in my space and had a nice meal. When I came back out, nobody was home. I looked at the rose bush growing in our courtyard and smiled. I pulled it out and tossed it into my space. Then I took a mutated rose seed from one of the warehouses and used my wood power to grow it until it looked just like the original bush. But this wasn't an ordinary rose. This mutant rose is mildly poisonous. If you use its petals on your skin, your face will rot. If a thorn pricks your finger, you'll bleed non-stop for half an hour. The worst part? The toxin travels through your blood and settles in your face, causing red petal-shaped marks that look like allergies or lupus. No medicine or injection can cure it. The only antidote is boiling the plant's root into tea. Of course, I'll never tell them that. The rose will bloom in about a week. By then, I'll be long gone. I'll just sit back and wait for Lin Shuang, my mom, and Xinjing to all get what they deserve. I washed up and went to bed. Meanwhile, Lin Shuang woke up on the way to the hospital, her whole body numb, tongue so swollen, she couldn't form words. The doctors examined her. No major organ damage, but her muscles would ache for days, her hair was completely burnt, and her scalp had burns. They had to shave her head, completely bald. Lin Shuang could only sit there crying, going, oh, unable to protest as the nurse scraped off every last strand. When Xinjing arrived and saw Lin Shuang wrapped up like a dumpling, she immediately suspected me. Lin Shuang pointed at nothing and stammered, her. It was her, but my brother Lin Yang shut that down. The doctor said she was struck by lightning. What? Does Lin Man have magic powers now? My dad left Lin Chao at the hospital to watch over Lin Shuang and took everyone else home. When he asked about me, Xinjing lied and said I'd been hiding in my room refusing to eat. Dad said, let her starve. At 8 that evening, I stepped out and told my dad flatly, my partner's family is coming over tomorrow. He just said, got it. He wasn't even listening, he thought. He'd already arranged my marriage to Director Wang's idiot son. The next morning, my dad left Lin Chao at the hospital with Lin Shuang and brought my mom home to cook for the Wang family's visit. I went to the hospital looking for Hu Qingxi, but he wasn't there, so I went home to wait. At 10:30, Director Wang arrived with his wife, He Shulian. My dad greeted them warmly and sent my mom to drag me out of my room. I walked into the living room and said point blank, I came out to tell you, I'm not marrying Wang Bauer. He Shulian had been sizing me up, tall, pretty, a college student. Part of her thought my genes might improve her son's children. But part of her worried a girl this beautiful would cheat on her idiot son. She was still on the fence when I flat out refused. Then I noticed Director Wang staring at me with a greedy, disgusting look on his face. It made my skin crawl. I could tell exactly what that old creep was thinking. If his son couldn't perform on the wedding night, he'd help. I wanted to strangle him with my vines right there. Wang smiled and said, young girls have tempers. Once she marries in, your wife can train her. I fired back. Who said I'm marrying your son? If someone promised you a bride, make them marry him. This family has more than one daughter. My mom sneered. Lin Shuang is already engaged. Who else is there? If Lin Shuang won't go, send my sister-in-law. If she won't go either, Mom, you can divorce Dad and marry into the Wang family yourself. You said it's a life of comfort, right? You get to be a mother figure and a young man's wife at the same time. Very youthful. He Shulian's face went dark. If this is the kind of daughter your family raises, I don't want her. My dad slammed his fist on the table. You insolent brat. I was about to fire back when I heard a knock at the courtyard gate. My heart leaped. Could it be Hu Qingxi and his family here to propose? I grinned and ran to open the gate. There stood Hu Qingxi with a middle-aged couple, his parents, carrying bags full of gifts. Lin Man, this is my father and mother, he said with a smile. I wasn't ready to call them Mom and Dad yet, so I greeted them politely. Hello, Uncle. Hello, Auntie. Please come in. My mom followed me out, saw the strangers, and snapped. Who are they? My partner and his family. I introduced her casually. This is Ms. Zhou, my mother. She works in the hospital cafeteria. His mother, Xiaoya, stepped forward to greet her warmly. Then my dad came out with Director Wang and his wife. He saw these well-dressed, elegant strangers and froze. Lin Man, who are these people? My husband Hu Qingxi, his parents, and his grandfather. Both my parents shouted at the same time. What? When did you get a partner? Yesterday. I told you last night that my partner's family was coming today. Remember, my dad choked. He'd assumed I meant the Wang family. Director Wang realized I was already taken and got furious about being tricked. His wife said she knew a girl this pretty would be trouble. They stormed out, threatening my dad to give them an explanation. My dad studied Hu Qingxi's face and recognized him. You're a doctor at our hospital? Yes, father-in-law. I performed Lin Man's surgery. My dad was too embarrassed to make a scene in front of these people, so everyone sat down. I brewed good tea from my secret stash. It was my in-laws' first visit, so proper manners mattered. My mom spoke first. We already arranged a marriage for Lin Man. You two went and registered behind our backs. How do you plan to fix this? Huaqingxi's parents were stunned. They hadn't known we'd actually gotten the certificate already. We'd gone from blind date to married in one afternoon. His father, Hujunshan, shot his son a look. You deal with this, Huaqingxi said calmly. Lin Man is my wife. We registered yesterday. Today I brought my family to deliver the bride price. My mom jumped up. I refuse. You married without your parents' permission. In the old days, you'd be drowned for this. You must divorce. She's already my wife. Wife or not, you're getting divorced, I laughed coldly. And if I won't, then get out of this house. You're no longer part of this family, music to my ears. I looked at Huaqingxi. They want me gone. I won't have a family anymore. He looked at me gently. You married me. The Hor family will always be your home. Then he turned to his grandfather and parents and explained everything. How my family gave my fiancé to their adopted daughter. Lin Shuang, how I got stabbed in the chest, and he performed my surgery, how they were trying to sell me off to a fool in exchange for a job for Lin Shuang. He said we took matters into our own hands because we had no choice. His father was half annoyed, half amused that his son had dumped this mess in their laps. But his mother, Xiaoya, was already looking at me with warm eyes. She thought I was beautiful and was already imagining what her grandchildren would look like. She smiled and said, They're already married. What's there to discuss? We'll just take our daughter-in-law home. His father agreed. Let's talk about the bride price. My dad asked what Huaqingxi's parents did for work. Huaqingxi cut in. Oh, they just scribble and draw all day. His father looked bewildered. They were aerospace researchers designing aircraft, not doodlers. But Huaqingxi clearly didn't want my greedy parents knowing the truth. My dad looked down on them. Just two nobodies who happened to raise a doctor's son. He told us to get divorced. Huaqingxi said flatly, I'm not divorcing her. I backed him up. Neither am I. Then get out and stop being a Lin, my mom screamed. And if you want to cut ties, pay us back for raising you 1,000 yuan. I nearly exploded. 1,000? I grew up eating your leftovers, wearing clothes made from your old rags, and working like an ox every single day. Even including school fees. You didn't spend more than 300 yuan on me in my entire life. And you want 1,000. The only reason they let me go to school at all was because they knew I was smart. Their plan was simple. If I got into college, they'd swap Lin Shuang in to take my spot. And if that didn't work, they'd let me graduate, get assigned a good job, and then take my salary. Xiaoya listened to all of this with horror. She couldn't believe a girl this young had suffered so much. Parents who stole her fiancé for another girl, tried to sell her to an idiot and now wanted to squeeze her for money just to let her go. Huaqingxi's mother, Xiaoya, was ready to pay the 1,000 yuan just to free me from these people. But before she could speak up, my dad insisted on the full amount. I decided to stir the pot first. You raised Lin Shuang for free and never asked her for 1,000 yuan. Could it be that you and my aunt had an affair? Maybe Lin Shuang is actually your daughter. That would explain why you treat her better than me. Was it true? Who knows? But I said it so convincingly that even my mom's eyes narrowed with suspicion. Guasheng, did you really have something going on with my sister? My dad slammed the table. Are you stupid? She's making things up to mess with us. Huaqingxi caught my sly little smile, and I swear I saw a flicker of amusement in his eyes. His father, Hujunshan, cut through the noise. Enough with your family drama. Let's settle the separation. Lin Man says you spent less than 400 raising her. We'll round up to 500 plus 100 for retirement. 600 total. We'll pay. My mom did quick math in her head. She needed 580 to buy Lin Shuang a temporary job. 500 isn't enough. 600. Done. Hujunshan agreed instantly. My dad was furious. He'd wanted 1,000. He thought my mom was an idiot for settling so low. But when I pointed out that I could just walk away and they'd get nothing, he caved.
Fine.
600. Pay up now. I pulled out a pen. 2 sheets of paper, and a box of ink paste, all prepared in advance. Sign the separation documents first with your fingerprints. I had a plan for the 600 too. I'd give the Hua family a small gold bar to cover it, about 30 grams. More than enough. And tonight, I'd sneak back, drug my parents unconscious, and steal the 600 right back. Yes, I know that's terrible. But my parents were never kind to me, so why should I be kind to them? Call me ungrateful. Call me a villain. I don't care.
My dad signed.
My mom signed. Fingerprints pressed. I handed them their copy, and kept mine.
My mom immediately said, "Now get out."
And don't take anything from this house. I'd already moved everything important into my space. The few rags left in my room weren't worth fighting over. I looked at Hua Qingxi. Ms. Zhou is kicking us out. Let's take our gifts and go. Xiaoya stood up and gathered every bag and box they'd brought. These were wedding gifts for our daughter-in-law. We're taking them home. The candy, cigarettes, wine, and tea? We'll give those to Grandpa Hua instead of leaving them for heartless parents like you. My mom tried to grab the bags. My dad stopped her, scolding her for being embarrassing. At least he still cared about appearances. I went to my room, grabbed my worn-out backpack, the only thing I owned that mattered, and walked out the door. My dad didn't stop me. He figured there was nothing valuable in my room anyway. The moment we left, my mom turned on my dad. "Are you stupid? You just let them walk away." My dad smirked. "Relax. Without the household registration booklet, that brat can't transfer her residency. She'll come crawling back, and we'll charge her another 600. My mom grinned. "And did you see those bags? Fabric, dresses, a watch. If we'd kept those, we wouldn't even need to buy Lin Shuang a dowry." My dad sighed. "That girl married someone rich. Let's go see who this her fellow really is." They rushed to the front gate, but we were long gone. They stood there confused. How did we disappear so fast? Did we leave in a car? Too late. Their big fish had already slipped away. What they didn't know was that my household registration was already transferred. They had no leverage left. And tonight, I'd be coming back for that 600 yuan. Next thing I knew, I was squeezed into a green military jeep. My mother-in-law Xiaoya on my left, Hua Qingxi on my right, and his father in the front passenger seat. I felt like a sandwich filling. Xiaoya held my hand and said warmly, Man, how are you so pretty? The more I look at you, the more familiar you seem." I told her she was pretty too. She laughed and said, "Silly girl, you're married to my son now. Call me Mama, not Auntie, okay? Mama." She pulled out a thick stack of money, 800 yuan, as a meeting gift from her and her husband. I tried to refuse, saying she'd already paid 600 for the separation. But Hua Qingxi told me to just take it. My mom's not short on money. Xiaoya playfully glared at him for that comment. I accepted the money, then quietly pulled a small gold bar, about 31 grams, from my backpack and offered it to her. "Mama, please take this." I should have been the one paying the separation fee. I didn't want them thinking I had nothing. Even though I'd left the Lin house with just a backpack, I had more wealth hidden in my space than anyone on this planet. She asked where I got gold. I made up a story. 2 summers ago, I was digging wild vegetables at my grandparents' farm and found a small jar buried in the hillside with several gold bars inside. She believed it completely, figuring I'd stumbled on some old landlord's hidden treasure. She told me to keep the gold hidden until things calmed down politically. She refused to take the gold bar, which made me like her even more. This was a genuinely good woman. I made a mental note to treat her well. I noticed her staring at my face a few times, as if trying to place where she'd seen me before. She seemed puzzled that I was so tall, over 172 centimeters, while my mother was barely 160 and my father was only about my height. She seemed to wonder if I was really the Lin's biological child. We drove to the department store. Xiaoya took me upstairs to buy underwear first, practical stuff I'd need since I left home with nothing. She bought me 3 cotton tops and several pairs of underwear, without hesitating. Then she got me 2 sets of pajamas, 2 white cotton shirts, and a blue ruffled skirt. She wanted to buy me pants too, but ran out of fabric coupons. "Don't worry, man. When your father and I save up more coupons, we'll mail them to you." Then she dragged me to the cosmetics counter. The island can be windy and dry. We need to stock up on face cream for you, she told the salesgirl. 2 boxes of Yashuang cream, 3 boxes of moisturizer, and 1 lipstick. I tried to stop her. Mama, that's too much. They probably have stores on the island too. Then a sharp, familiar voice cut through the air. It's you? You stole my blind date, and now you have the nerve to shop at my counter? How shameless. Of all the bad luck, it was Wang Yan, Hu Qingxi's blind date from yesterday. She worked at this cosmetics counter. I was still deciding whether to play the quiet, ladylike daughter-in-law in front of Xiaoya when my sweet, gentle mother-in-law suddenly snapped. Excuse me, comrade? Why exactly can't we shop at this counter? And what's this about my daughter-in-law stealing your blind date? Wang Yan's eyes went wide. Daughter-in-law? She's already married? Then, yesterday, she went on a blind date with comrade Hu Qingxi while being a married woman, and just like that, things were about to get interesting. Xiaoya, my mother-in-law, sized up Wang Yan in an instant. She later described her to Hu Junshan as having a face painted like a monkey's behind. Harsh, but not wrong. I smiled sweetly at Wang Yan. I didn't just go on a blind date with Hu Qingxi. I married him yesterday. We got our certificate and everything. Wang Yan sputtered. You're shameless. You stole my marriage partner. Xiaoya stepped in front of me, her gentle warmth replaced by steel. Stole? My son didn't choose you. Don't think you can bully my daughter-in-law just because he's not here. With a temper like yours, even if he had liked you, you'd never have gotten past me. I tugged her hand. Mama, let's go. We can buy face cream in winter. Absolutely not. We're buying everything, I said, plus an extra lipstick and a box of rouge. Wang Yan's coworker nudged her. Just serve the customers, and Wang Yan had no choice but to swallow her anger and ring us up. I could tell she was seething. She'd been dreaming about Hu Qingxi's handsome face and good family, and now she had to watch his mother shower me with expensive cosmetics at her own counter. We headed downstairs and met up with Hu Qingxi and his father. His dad handed all the shopping bags to Hu Qingxi without a word. I noticed the family pecking order right away. His dad passed everything to his son like it was the most natural thing in the world. I whispered to Hu Qingxi, "Want me to carry some?" "No. I'll take these to the car." "You go with my parents to Quanjude for roast duck." As we walked, his father said proudly, "My son has good taste, just like me." I kept my head down, hiding a smile. Hu Qingxi didn't choose me. I chose him. I crashed his blind date and took what I wanted. In this world, you have to grab your own fate. A man this handsome and capable? Better to act than regret. Then a thought crossed my mind. We got married yesterday. Would we share a room tonight? My heart started racing. At Quanjude, his father ordered 1 roast duck for the table and 2 more to take home, plus several other dishes. 1 duck alone cost 8 or 9 yuan. This was the kind of meal ordinary people couldn't dream of. My in-laws clearly had serious money. Hu Qingxi arrived and handed me a box. "I bought this watch for you yesterday. See if you like it." Inside was a beautiful red leather-strap plum blossom watch. Xiaoya gave her son a thumbs up. It was elegant and festive, probably worth 200 or 300 yuan. I couldn't believe my luck. I'd crashed a blind date and ended up with a husband, a watch, new clothes, 800 yuan in cash, and a roast duck lunch. After the meal, we drove to the Hu family compound. My jaw dropped. The Lin family house was maybe 130 square meters total. The Hu residence was a proper forecourt-yard traditional mansion, over 1,000 square meters. It felt like a palace. Hu Qingxi walked beside me and said softly, "Don't be nervous. Grandpa is easy to talk to." I realized I barely knew anything about his family, so he gave me a quick rundown. His grandmother had 5 children, 2 eldest sons who died in war, then his father, the 3rd child, plus 2 more uncles and an aunt. His grandmother's health broke after losing her 2 eldest, and she died young. As for his own siblings, his second brother, Hu Qingyan, is 3 years younger. His mother had a miscarriage after that, then years of nothing, until a surprise pregnancy that turned out to be another boy, not the daughter they'd hoped for. That's Hu Qinghuan, the 9-year-old little brother. The moment we stepped into the main courtyard, a small boy, barely 140 centimeters, came charging out. Big brother. Is sister-in-law here? Where is she? Let me see. I felt embarrassed. I'd come to this grand family empty-handed. No gifts for Grandpa, no gifts for this little kid, nothing. Xiaoya called out. Hu Qinghuan, stop yelling. Your sister-in-law is right here. Come say hello properly. He ran up to me, flashed a big grin, and said, Hello, sister-in-law.
I'm Hu Qingguan.
You're really pretty. You and my big brother are a perfect match. I smiled awkwardly. Hello, little brother. You're very handsome too. He really was. All the Hu children were good-looking. This one had bright eyes and white teeth, just a bit too hyperactive. Hu Qingxi handed him the bags of candy and biscuits. Take these inside. And just like that, I walked into my new home. Little Qinghuan spotted the roast duck bags and immediately complained that nobody invited him to lunch. His dad promised him he'd eat tonight. The whole extended family was coming over. Hu Qingxi dumped all the shopping bags on the table and grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the side rooms. My heart jumped. Was he taking me to?
No.
He was taking me to meet Grandpa. I felt embarrassed showing up empty-handed. Normally, a new bride brings gifts for the elders, clothes, shoes. But I couldn't exactly pull things out of my secret space without raising questions. Hu Qingxi squeezed my hand. Don't overthink it. Grandpa isn't that kind of person, he knocked gently. Grandpa, may we come in? An old, warm voice answered.
Come in.
Door's not locked. I gripped Hu Qingxi's hand tightly as we walked in. He introduced me with pride in his voice. Grandpa, this is my wife, Lin Man. I bowed slightly. Hello, Grandpa. I'm Lin Man. Grandpa Hu put down his newspaper and stood up slowly. His eyes were full of warmth. He studied my face, then smiled. Good child. You've been treated unfairly. I've heard about what happened with your family. From now on, you're Hua. If anyone bullies you, tell Grandpa. I'll deal with them. Tears welled up in my eyes. I just met this old man, and he was already kinder to me than my own parents had ever been. Thank you, Grandpa. I managed, my voice cracking. He told me that next month, when Hu Qingxi transfers to Hainan Island, I should go with him and help look after little Qinghuan until his parents finish their research project. I agreed. A 9-year-old basically just needs food and clean clothes. Easy enough. Then Grandpa gave me a big red envelope and a red jade bracelet. He said the bracelet had belonged to Hu Qingxi's grandmother. She'd saved it for his future wife and had never worn it herself. I accepted both gifts with both hands, thanking him. I could tell the bracelet stirred memories. His eyes grew distant. We quietly left to give him space. Hu Qingxi led me to our room in the east courtyard. His mother saw where we were headed and very smoothly ushered everyone else away to give us privacy. When I stepped inside, I froze. The room was covered in red, double happiness, characters on the wardrobe, the enamel basin, the thermos, the towels, the pillowcases. Everything was festive and warm. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had a real home. Hu Qingxi sat me on the bed, then pulled out a bank book and several deposit slips from the nightstand. I flipped through the bank book, and my eyes went wide. How do you have this much money saved? He just smiled. That's a secret. I'll tell you later. I tried to give it back, but he said in his family, the wife manages the money. Unless you'd rather I give it to my mother, he looked at me with a teasing half-smile. I opened the red envelopes from his parents. The amount was generous, far more than a normal bride price. He told me his grandfather's envelope probably had 500 yuan too, and tonight more relatives would come with more gifts. I told him to put it all in savings. He said no, he'd take me to the bank to open my own account. It would be my personal money to spend however I liked. I stared at him, looking for a sign. He was joking. There was none. Only sincerity and warmth. The tears finally fell. I threw myself into his arms. Thank you, Hu Qingxi. Thank you for giving me a home. He patted my back gently. Don't cry. You're my wife. I want you to be happy. I'll always be here to take care of you. I asked if I could call him Qingxi. He said yes, and he'd call me Man. Then I asked something that had been on my mind. I basically stole you from Wang Yan. If I hadn't shown up, would you have married her? He shook his head without hesitation.
No.
I didn't feel anything for her. No desire to protect her or build a life with her. But with you, the moment you sat down at my table and said you wanted to be my blind date, I had only one thought. Marry this girl and make her happy. I asked one more thing. Did you marry me out of pity? He smiled.
No.
I'm a soldier and a doctor. I've met plenty of women with hard lives, and I never wanted to marry any of them. When you came to my table, I just knew I wanted to give you a home. I held on to him, thinking to myself, crashing that blind date was the best decision I ever made. His answer was perfect. I couldn't help feeling proud of myself. I crashed one blind date and landed the best husband imaginable. We sat there staring at each other, the air thick with something electric. Time seemed to stop. Then, almost without thinking, Zexy pulled me into his arms. He cupped my face in his hands, his thumb tracing my cheek. When his lips met mine, soft and slow, my mind went completely blank. I kissed him back. It was my first real kiss, and it was wonderful. Then a thought hit me, we're already married.
He's mine.
Why wait? I pushed him onto the bed and started pulling at his clothes. Zexy looked absolutely stunned. He'd planned to give me time to adjust before we shared a bed. He did not expect me to be the one making the first move. Man, it's the middle of the day, he protested weakly. I didn't care. What kind of man says he can't? Don't you want me? He tried to stay rational. His parents, his grandfather, his little brother were all home. But I was persistent. Eventually, he gave in. Things were going well until they weren't. At the critical moment, the pain hit me like a truck. I panicked and accidentally kicked him off the bed. He landed on the floor, completely confused. 1 minute I was the one begging for it, the next I was kicking him across the room. I felt terrible and scrambled to pull him up. He looked at me with a mix of frustration and desire, pinned me gently against the bed, and asked in a low voice, "Do you still want to?" My brain said no. My body said yes. I nodded and whispered, "Just be gentle." Afterward, I could barely speak. "Zexy, I'm thirsty." He jumped up, got dressed, and went to get me water. The moment he left, I pulled the blanket over my head in shame. Yesterday, I crashed a stranger's blind date at lunch. Today, I seduced my new husband in broad daylight. I couldn't face anyone. Meanwhile, out in the courtyard, little Qinghwan ambushed his brother. "What were you and sister-in-law doing in the room?" "Making a baby." Zexy turned red and shoved a yuan into the kid's hand. "Go buy yourself a popsicle and stop asking questions." He brought me warm water, then heated a bucket of water so I could wash up. He offered to help me, but I was too embarrassed. He left me a jar of healing ointment and tactfully stepped out. Once I was cleaned up, he took me on his bicycle to the bank. I opened my own account and deposited 1,200 yuan, the gifts from his mother and grandfather, keeping 100 on me for spending money. When we got home, Xiaoya took one look at us and knew exactly what had happened. Her son was practically glowing, and my face was flushed with a dreamy look I couldn't hide. She'd always thought her eldest son was slow with women. Turns out he just needed the right one to get things moving fast. Xiaoya pulled me aside to get changed before the guests arrived. She picked out the red floral long dress Zexy had bought me. "Red for good luck," she said, "and it would suit my tall figure." She told me to change right there in the room. We're both women, nothing to be shy about, but when I started unbuttoning my shirt, her eyes went wide at my chest. She swallowed hard and quickly looked away. I could practically hear her thinking, "My son is a lucky man." She laughed and asked, Man, what did you eat growing up? How did you develop so well?" I told her the truth, leftovers and bean dregs cakes mostly. She joked that maybe the protein in bean dregs was the secret. I couldn't help but laugh. My mother-in-law was adorable. Once I had the dress on, she sat me down and braided my hair into a fishtail braid. That moment hit me harder than I expected. No one had ever done my hair before. When I was 4, my mom shaved my head because she said brushing my hair was too much trouble. I cried and she didn't care. By 5 or 6, I was tying my own hair with broken rubber bands other kids threw away. In middle school, my mom grabbed me and hacked off my long hair with scissors to sell it, didn't even bother to even it out afterward. I got laughed at by classmates and could only cry under my blanket at night. She told everyone I'd had lice. In high school, she tried again. That time, I grabbed the scissors and told her I'd cut Lin Shuang's hair next. She finally backed off. So when my mother-in-law gently braided my hair and asked if it looked pretty, my eyes went red with emotion. "Thank you, Mama." She sat me down and told me about her life. She'd always wanted a daughter. After her second son, she got pregnant again and was overjoyed. Finally, a girl. But she slipped in the rain at 4 months and lost the baby. Years passed with no pregnancy. Then, 10 years later, a miracle, she was pregnant again. She and her husband were thrilled and named the baby Huan, meaning joy, while still in the womb. The morning sickness was terrible, which convinced them it must be a girl this time. But out came another boy. They kept the name anyway. Huan works for either gender. I decided then and there. Someday I'd give her the granddaughter she'd always wanted. And I'd raise that girl the way I wished I'd been raised. Braid her hair, sew her pretty dresses, teach her to sing and dance, and show up at every school performance. We headed to the back courtyard where Zexy was squatting by the well, cleaning fish. Little Qinghuan sat nearby on a tiny stool, snapping long beans. His father, Junshan, was busy in the kitchen. "Need any help?" I asked. Zexy looked up and paused when he saw me in the floral dress. "No, it's dirty over here. Don't come closer." I went and sat next to Qinghuan to help snap beans. He looked up at me with a bright smile. "Sister-in-law, you look even prettier in a dress. Prettier than my Chinese teacher. When I grow up, I want to marry someone as beautiful as you." Zexy shot his little brother a look. "What do you know about marrying anyone?" Then he turned to me and said softly, "He's right though. You look really beautiful today, man." I blushed. "Stop teasing me. I'm serious," he said. In the kitchen, Junshan was slicing the roast duck when Xiaoya walked in. He smiled warmly and offered her a taste. She tried to help with the duck bone soup, but he shooed her out. Too much smoke in the kitchen, and her parents would be arriving soon. Watching this family, the men cooking, while the women relaxed, a husband who doted on his wife, a little brother who adored me, a mother-in-law who braided my hair. I kept thinking, this is what a real family looks like. I tugged on Zexy's sleeve nervously. "The elders are giving me gifts, but I have nothing to give back. What do I do?" He told me not to worry before we leave Beijing. We'd visit each family and bring presents. That calmed me down. I had plenty of fabric and supplies in my space. I just needed to find the right moment to pull some out and pretend I'd bought them. While Zexy and his father cooked in the kitchen, I helped Xiaoya prepare fruit platters in their room. She arranged them with meaning. Round cookies for harmony, candy for sweetness, and red dates, peanuts, longans, and melon seeds because together their names sound like have children soon. I didn't respond to that hint. I was only 18. I figured 20 was a better age for babies. I felt a pang of sadness knowing my in-laws had to return to their Air Force research base first thing tomorrow. I'd finally found a wonderful mother-in-law, and we couldn't even live together. Around 6 o'clock, the relatives started arriving. First came fourth uncle Junlin, a military translator, with his wife Yang Xiaowei and their 4 children, 19-year-old twin girls, a 17-year-old son, and a 14-year-old daughter. Before I could figure out which twin was which, fifth uncle Juanhing showed up with his wife Du Xiaowan and their 2 kids. Then came Zexy's aunt, Junmo, the youngest of the Hu siblings, with her husband Zhongkang. Both were military doctors at the hospital. They had 3 children. I did the math. The whole Hu clan was 21 people. Add in Zexy's maternal grandparents and his 2 uncles on that side, and we'd need at least 3 tables. The red envelopes came pouring in. Fourth aunt pressed money into my hand with a smile. "A little something from us. Don't think it's too small." Fifth aunt gave me one too. Then Auntie Junmo arrived, teasing that I looked like a flower and that Zexy was a lucky man. She made her husband hand over their red envelope. Xiaoya's family came next. Zexy's maternal grandfather was a bone surgeon, and both his uncles worked at a hospital too. His younger aunt, Xiao Rong, was a schoolteacher caught up in the political movement, constantly being dragged in for thought education sessions, so she couldn't come, but she sent a 50 yuan red envelope through her brother. Xiaoya worried about her sister quietly. That was the real reason Grandpa Hua was sending Hu Qingxi to Hainan Island, to keep him away from the political chaos. The movement was hitting schools, hospitals, and especially Western-trained doctors hard. The Hu family's military background, 2 martyrs among them, offered some protection, but not if someone found real dirt on them. While the adults chatted, Hu Qingxi's twin cousins cornered me. Hu, when she grinned. You're only 18? That's younger than us. Why get married so early? I smiled. The legal age is 18. When fate comes knocking, you answer. Her twin sister, Hu Wenyue, said something that caught my attention. You married my big cousin. Your fate is better than Sister Xiaoshua's. When she grabbed her sister's arm. What are you saying? I didn't understand the comment. Who was Xiaoshua? Did Hu Qingxi have some old love I didn't know about? When she quickly explained that Xiaoshua was the political commissar's granddaughter, and intern at the military hospital, and that she had nothing to do with Hu Qingxi. Maybe she liked him. Maybe they had some history. But I wasn't worried. Hu Qingxi and I were already married. We'd already been intimate. And from the way he fumbled through it, he was clearly no experienced lover. Whatever Xiaoshua's story was, it had nothing to do with us now. I slipped away to our room to count the red envelopes while the relatives chatted. Every aunt, uncle, and in-law on both sides had given 50 yuan each, 300 total. Combined with the 100 I'd kept from earlier, I now had 400 in cash. I decided not to deposit this money. We'd be heading to Hainan Island soon, and you can't withdraw from a different city in this era. Only receive wire transfers. I'd need cash on hand to set up a new home. Meanwhile, I didn't know it at the time, but out in the living room, the gossip had already started. Xiaoya's sister-in-law, Deng Qiuling, called me a little enchantress and complained that I didn't even have a job. She said she would have introduced her own niece to Hu Qingxi instead. Xiaoya shut that down fast. My daughter-in-law is beautiful, not an enchantress. And Qingxi can afford to support her. One of the younger wives, Tian Xian, whispered to her sister-in-law. That Lin man's so lucky. She doesn't even work, and the red envelopes alone are more than we earn in a year. Xiaoya overheard and seethed quietly. She'd given those same women generous gifts when they married into the family, 50 yuan each, plus baby gifts and supplements. The ingratitude stung. I didn't hear any of this. I just knew that being stared at and questioned by a crowd of strangers was exhausting, so I escaped to the back courtyard to help serve dinner. The meal was impressive. 3 plates of sliced quanjued roast duck bone soup with radish, braised pork, braised fish, fried tofu, bitter melon with egg, stir-fried beans, and smashed cucumber. 8 dishes total, plus watermelon for dessert. Hu Qingxi told everyone we'd visit their homes before leaving Beijing. After the guests left, I tried to wash dishes, but Xiaoya stopped me. Qinghuan and I will handle it. You two go wash up and get to bed early. The look on her face made her meaning very clear. Hu Qingxi pulled me back to our room without a word. He offered to heat water for my bath, insisting women shouldn't wash with cold water, even in summer. I grabbed his sleeve. Why are you so good to me? He looked surprised. You're my wife. Who else would I be good to? I mentioned the relatives probably thought I'd hit the jackpot. Then I asked about Xiaoshua, the girl his cousin had mentioned. He pulled me onto his lap and kissed my cheek. Her name is Xiaoshua. She's an intern at the hospital. We've known each other a long time, but there's nothing between us. I believe you, I said, because this afternoon, you definitely seemed like a first-timer. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that. Then his breathing changed, and his eyes darkened. The second time won't hurt as much, he murmured. Tonight we can try switching positions. I froze. Even with all the things I'd seen in the apocalypse, that look on his face made me not dare move or speak. I'd planned to sneak out to the Lin house that night to steal back the 600 yuan separation money. But Hu Qingxi coaxed me into bed, and every time I tried to get up, he pulled me back. I don't even remember falling asleep. The next morning at 7, I was still dead to the world when I felt soft kisses on my face. Little lazy pig, time to get up. He asked if I wanted to come stay at the military hospital dormitory with him. It was over an hour from the Hua compound by bicycle, and since he normally lived at the dorm during work weeks, he wanted me nearby. That suited me perfectly. The Lin family house was near the military hospital. Staying at the dorm would make it much easier for me to sneak over there one night and take back that 600 yuan. Beauty had derailed my plans last night, but this time I wouldn't let myself get distracted. Hua Qingxi brought me to the military hospital and dropped me off at his dormitory before heading to work. He told me to nap, and we'd eat lunch together at the cafeteria. If I got bored, I could browse the local shops. The moment he left, I locked the door and went into my space. I had Xiaoji help me sort out return gifts for all the relatives who'd given me red envelopes. The robot suggested sending abalone and shark fin, but I told it to keep things modest. 2 towels, 3 feet of cotton fabric, a pound of candy, and a pound of biscuits per family. Xiaoji thought that was embarrassingly cheap and talked me into upgrading the towels to large bath towels with "double happiness" printed on them. I told it to scrape off any production dates. The last thing I needed was someone seeing a date from the future. I also needed bedding. I'd shown up at the Hua household with literally nothing, no quilts, no blankets. Xiaoji pointed out the space only had goose down and silk duvets, no cotton quilts. But I had 200 tons of raw cotton in one of the warehouses. Xiaoji suggested I take some cotton out and find a quilt maker rather than trying to sew them myself. Smart robot. I thought about the journey ahead. Hua Qingxi had to wait for his transfer papers, then we'd take a train south to Guangzhou, transfer to Xi'an, and catch a boat to Hainan Island. 2 or 3 days of travel. The island was extremely poor. Ordinary people could barely afford rice. I admired Hua Qingxi for choosing to go when he could easily have stayed safe in Beijing with his powerful family. His grandfather wanted to toughen him up. At least I had my space full of supplies. Without it, we'd be living on watery porridge. I decided to go out and explore the area. The second I walked downstairs, I ran smack into Yichun, my ex-fiancé. Of all the rotten luck, he got in my face immediately. "Did you beat up Shuang? When did I ever hit her?" I wasn't going to admit anything. He puffed up his chest. "Your parents promised to buy Shuang a job once we get married. You're obviously just jealous." He grabbed my wrist. I shook him off and let him have it. "Jealous?
Of what?"
You two were sneaking around long before the engagement ended. I heard you couldn't even perform. Lin Shuang told my sister-in-law you're faster than a jet plane, and it's over before it starts. Go home and have your mommy brew you some medicine, you limp noodle." His face went red with fury. "You're crazy. You're just jealous Shuang gets to marry me." Something cold snapped inside me. I slapped him twice across the face, hard. "Worthless trash." He stood there stunned. Before he could react, I kicked him square in the stomach and he crumpled to the ground. "Don't mess with me," I said. "Unless you want me reporting you and Lin Shuang for having improper relations before marriage." Whether it was true or not didn't matter. In this political climate, an accusation like that could ruin them both. They certainly couldn't prove their innocence. He sputtered from the ground. You're a shrew. Just wait until Director Wang takes you home for his son." I laughed. "I'm already married, you idiot." Lin Shuang's plan to sell me off for a job? Tell her to keep dreaming. I walked away without looking back, hoping this loser didn't also live in the hospital dormitory. What terrible luck running into him. I shook it off and focused on my errand, finding a quilt maker. An old lady sitting in a courtyard told me there was one near the textile factory. She asked if I could spare some cotton for her grandson's winter clothes. I felt bad refusing, but in this political climate, selling supplies for my space could get me reported. I took the bus to the textile factory and found the quilt maker. I ordered 4 quilts, 2 thick ones for the Hua compound and 2 thinner ones for Hainan. I secretly pulled 20 pounds of cotton from my space when no one was looking, stuffed it into a big bag, and brought it to the shop. I told the craftsman I was getting married and needed them urgently. He said they'd be ready in a week. I paid, took my receipt, and left. I didn't know it at the time, but after I beat up Yichun and walked away, he ran straight to the hospital to find Lin Shuang. Here's what was happening behind my back. Yichun burst into the burn ward where Lin Shuang was recovering, her head wrapped in bandages like a mummy, and demanded to know if she'd been talking about him. He was furious about what I'd said regarding his performance issues. Lin Shuang denied everything, of course, and blamed me for being a troublemaker. She told him I'd brought a man home, severed ties with the Lin family, and left. She conveniently left out the part where the Hua family paid 600 yuan for my freedom. She didn't want Yichen to know any details that might make him curious about my new husband. Yichen looked at her bandaged, bald head and had a brief moment of doubt. What if her hair never grew back? Would he be marrying a bald nun? But he quickly did the math. She'd have a job soon, they'd both be earning money, and they could have lots of sons. Good enough. Then his mind went somewhere truly disgusting. He thought about having Lin Shuang as his wife while also scheming to get me on the side. He wanted to punish me in bed to get revenge for the slaps and kicks. What a revolting piece of garbage. He also brought up something interesting. He asked Lin Shuang why I was so tall and looked nothing like my parents. He wondered if I was even a real Lin. Lin Shuang had suspected the same thing for years. She admitted that even before she arrived, my parents had treated me poorly. Once she came along and learned to cry on cue and act sweet, my parents gave her everything while I got leftovers and beatings. In her mind, she thought, who cares if Lin Man is really a Lin or not? She left, so she should stay gone or, better yet, die out there. Lin Shuang played her usual card with Yichen, tearfully offering to cancel their wedding since she looked so awful now. He grabbed her hand and reassured her he'd never abandon her. Classic. Both of them performing devotion while scheming behind each other's backs. Inside her head, Lin Shuang was gloating. I was gone. She was about to get a job, and soon she'd have everything she wanted. But if I really was the one who hurt her, she cursed me to die, hit by a car, or worse. She fantasized about clawing my face, ripping out my hair, and throwing me to Director Wang and his son. Yichen asked what kind of man I'd run off with. Lin Shuang suggested I'd probably gotten pregnant and forced some poor fool to marry me. He shrugged. Let her rot. She brought it on herself. Two scheming, selfish people comforting each other with lies, a perfect match. They deserved every bit of each other. I took the bus back to the military hospital just before noon and went to find Zexy at his department. The moment he saw me, his cold, professional expression melted into a warm smile. His colleague Chinwei noticed the instant transformation and teased him about it. Zexy didn't even bother walking back to his office. He shoved his white coat into Chinwei's hands and said, "Hang this up for me." The guy could barely believe it. Apparently my husband was all discipline and focus at work, and now he couldn't walk 10 steps to put away his own coat. We headed to the cafeteria. I ordered braised fish and stir-fried squash. Just as we sat down to eat, a woman walked up to our table, Xiao Shui, the one Zexy's cousin had mentioned. She acted like I was invisible. Dr. Hua, eating in the cafeteria today? Fong Fong, go get my food. We'll sit here. She just planted herself at our table without asking. Zexy ignored her and put a piece of fish on my plate. Man, eat up. Xiao Shui's jaw dropped. Then she asked if I was his cousin. He said flatly, "This is my wife, Lin Man." She lost it. Tears started pouring down her face. How could you get married so fast? My grandfather was going to ask your grandfather to arrange our match next week. I've known you for over 10 years. How could you just marry some random person without waiting for me? Zexy's face went ice cold. Who I marry has nothing to do with you. Please sit somewhere else. You're ruining my wife's appetite. People were starting to stare. I didn't want a scene, so I handled it calmly. Miss Chiao, love takes two willing hearts. Before marrying me, my husband had no woman in his heart. Fate works in mysterious ways. Sometimes people who've known each other forever just aren't meant to be. You grew up with plenty of childhood friends. I'm sure you'll find your match among them, she snapped. What do you mean we have no fate? Our grandfathers are close friends. I didn't bother arguing. I just kept eating. Zexy did the same. With both of us ignoring her and the neighboring tables craning their necks for drama, Xiao Shui stomped her foot and ran off without even taking her lunchbox. After lunch, Zexy took me back to the dorm to nap. He just held me, didn't try anything, knowing we'd both barely slept the night before. He left for work at 2, locking the door quietly behind him. I spent the afternoon in my space, preparing return gifts for the relatives and picking out fabric for quilt covers. Xiaoji had done a great job. Candy and cookies wrapped in brown paper stamped with double happiness, characters, matching bath towels and gift boxes. I even had the robot find some vintage-looking red dragon and phoenix satin sheets for the quilts. When Huqingxi came back with dinner and saw the pile of gifts, I told him I'd gone shopping. He examined the towel sets and said they were nice, then scolded me gently for carrying heavy bags by myself. After dinner we took a walk, and when we got back he washed all the clothes, his and mine, including my underwear. I was starting to feel like a kept woman. Marry this man, and you never have to lift a finger again. At bedtime, I'd sworn to myself I wouldn't let him touch me tonight. I had a mission: sneak out to the Lin house and steal back that 600 yuan. But the moment we lay down together, it was like a match hitting dry grass. We went one round. Then I used my wood power to grow a small dream flower, putting him into a deep sleep instantly. I grabbed the keys, crept out of the dormitory, pulled my green motorcycle from the space, and tore through the empty streets toward the Lin family house. Tonight I was going to rob my former parents blind. I parked my motorcycle by the Lin family's courtyard wall and stashed it back in my space. The front gate was bolted from inside, so I couldn't pick it. Instead, I pulled out a ladder, climbed up, and prepared to hop over. That's when lightning struck me. A bolt came straight out of the sky and hit me dead on. My hands went numb, my braids stood straight up, and electricity buzzed in my ears. I cursed the heavens and ducked into my space before any real damage was done. Xiaoji waddled over. Master, did you just get struck by lightning? Thankfully, my lightning powers meant my body could absorb electricity without burning, unlike poor Lin Shuang, whose head got charred. Xiaoji pointed out that the strike had actually upgraded my lightning ability from level 1 to level 3. For a moment I considered going back out to get hit again, but Xiaoji talked me out of it. My body couldn't absorb that much at once. Then I had a brilliant idea. Why not redirect the lightning onto the Lin family's roof? Burn their house down and leave them homeless. Xiaoji reminded me I'd come here to steal money, not commit arson.
Right.
Priorities. I jumped back out onto the wall, wove a vine net across to the rooftop, and carefully crawled over. When I saw another bolt forming, I ducked into my space until it passed. The thunder woke my mom. She shook my dad. Guasheng, should we go check on Shuang? She's scared of thunder, he grumbled without opening his eyes. It's too late. Go to sleep. She said she had a bad feeling. He told her to shut up. Then she heard something on the roof. He said it was rats. I almost laughed out loud. I lifted a roof tile and sent down a vine covered in small yellow flowers, sleep flowers. The sweet fragrance filled the room. My mom sat up, smelled something strange, opened her mouth to speak, and collapsed off the bed unconscious. My dad started cursing her. Then mid-sentence he dropped too. I climbed down from the roof, unlocked their door with my master key, and crept inside. I opened the drawers and took every last yuan and every ration ticket. Then I burned their household registration booklet and grain ration booklet. Useless to me, but devastating for them. Lightning flashed outside the window. Rain was coming. Time to go. I slipped back out, climbed the rear wall, and got struck by lightning again. I managed to dive into my space, but not fast enough. The second strike hit me full force. The courtyard wall collapsed behind me. Inside my space, I was in agony. My stomach felt like it was on fire. Every hair stood on end. My blood boiled, and my bones ached. I asked Xiaoji for a power storage device. It didn't have one. It told me to release the excess electricity using my lightning power. I can't, it'll destroy everything in the space. Then go destroy the Lin house instead. Good point. As long as I didn't kill anyone, the heavens couldn't punish me for property damage. I burst out of my space and went absolutely wild, hurling lightning balls at the Lin family rooftop one after another. The barrage was so intense it actually attracted real thunderbolts from the sky, which slammed down on top of my own strikes.
Boom.
Lin Yang and Xin Jing jolted awake as roof tiles crashed down around them. He turned on the light and shouted, "Our roof got struck by lightning. Tiles are falling. I saw their light flick on and immediately recalled all my vines, then dove back into my space. Even after unleashing all that destruction, electricity was still surging through my body. Xiaoji delivered the bad news. Master, you'll be carrying a charge for the next few days. Anyone who touches you could die. What? Are you serious? You got struck twice tonight. I'm starting to think heaven has a personal grudge against you. The excess electricity hasn't fully discharged, so what do? Stay in the space for now. Otherwise, you'll accidentally electrocute people. But if I stay in here, Huqingxi will wake up and I'll be gone. What then? I was stuck in my space with electricity still surging through my body, worrying about Huqingxi. If I disappeared for days, he'd panic and probably report me missing to the police. Xiao Ji tilted its chunky robot head. Why do you care so much about this Huqingxi? Because he's good to me. Is it weird that I'm worried? You humans are strange, always creating problems for yourselves. Meanwhile, outside my space, the Lin house was in chaos. The fire I'd accidentally started on my dad's desk was blazing. Lin Yang, Lin Chao, and Xinjing woke up to smoke and flames. Lin Chao smashed through my parents' bedroom door, which for once wasn't locked, and found my mom unconscious on the floor. She wouldn't wake up no matter how much he shook her, so he slapped her across the face. She came to swinging. Lin Guosheng, how dare you hit me? Mom, it's me. The house is on fire. Run. She scrambled up and bolted outside screaming. Lin Yang dragged my dad off the bed. The whole family spent the next stretch hauling bucket after bucket of water until they finally put out the fire. When the smoke cleared, my dad stared at the charred remains of his desk, completely destroyed, burned to black carbon. He smashed it with a bucket in fury, and it crumbled into ash. The 600 yuan was in that drawer, he said, his voice hollow. The household registration, the grain ration booklet, the photos, all gone. Everything's gone. My mom threw herself on the ground wailing.
600 yuan.
Without that money, how will we get Shuang her job? Why did heaven strike our house with lightning? Lin Chao said something that made the room go quiet. Maybe this is heaven's punishment for kicking sister out. My dad's response hit even harder. Shut up. Lin Man isn't even our real child. She's not a Lin. Everyone froze. Lin Yang and Lin Chao stared in disbelief. What do you mean she's not ours? Then who is she? My dad said coldly, your mother brought her home from the hospital. The truth, which only he and my mom knew, was that their real daughter was born sickly, with a weak heart. My mom, desperate for a healthy child, secretly swapped her own baby with a baby from a wealthy family. Later, when my dad found out and tried to track down their real daughter, the other family had used fake names. They never found her.
So that was it.
I wasn't their blood. I was a stolen baby, raised as a servant. Everything suddenly made sense. Why they never loved me, why nothing I did was ever good enough, why Lin Shuang could waltz in and steal my place so easily. My dad had transferred all the love meant for his real lost daughter onto Lin Shuang, because she reminded him of what his own child might have been. Shunjing was quietly gleeful, so the girl they treated like trash was never even theirs. After shooing the kids out, my dad locked the door and pulled a jar from under the bed. Inside were their real savings, bank books, cash, and various tickets they'd hidden separately. Those were safe. He breathed a sigh of relief. My mom moaned about Lin Shuang's job falling through. My dad said they could take the groom's bride price from Yichen's family and give it all to Lin Shuang. And if I ever came back asking for household registration documents, they'd squeeze me for more money. He'd already done his research. He knew Huqingxi came from a powerful military family with a commander grandfather and researcher parents. He knew there was real money there. My mom, ever the schemer, suggested sending Lin Shuang to befriend me and somehow steal Huqingxi for herself. My dad shut that down. Huqingxi is handsome and from a top family. Lin Shuang is plain, and now she's bald from the lightning. He'd never look at her. Besides, he's going to Hainan. You want Shuang suffering on a remote island. So there they sat in their half-destroyed house, still plotting ways to use me and squeeze money from my new family, not knowing I'd already taken everything from that drawer and burned their documents to ashes. And somewhere in my secret space, I sat crackling with stolen lightning. learning for the first time, through a truth I hadn't heard yet, that I was never really a Lin at all. I was bored hiding in my space, so while the Lin family scrambled to put out the fire, I crept back onto the rooftop to watch the chaos. That's when I overheard the truth about myself. I'm not their daughter. I never was. Zhou Ping stole me from the hospital when I was a newborn. Her real daughter was born with a heart defect, too sick to survive. So she swapped her dying baby for a healthy one.
Me.
A baby from another family. She took me home and raised me as a servant. Lin Guoxing knew. He wanted to throw me out, but the very next day after I arrived, he got promoted. His salary went up. His wife got a cafeteria job. Their lives kept improving. He decided I was his good luck charm. That's the only reason they kept me, not love, not duty. Superstition. He let Zhou Ping bully me, starve me, beat me, as long as it didn't go too far and scare away the good fortune. He let me go to school only because teachers and neighborhood officials kept showing up to pressure him, and because he figured an educated me would be more useful to exploit later. Their plan had always been the same. Let Lin Shuang steal my college spot, or wait for me to graduate and then control my salary. But I got too rebellious, school got shut down, and then I married Hu Qingxi and escaped. They let me go for 600 yuan, and now even that money had turned to ash. Lin Guoxing was starting to regret everything. His lucky charm was gone, and disaster had already struck. Hearing all this, I felt something cold and sharp settle inside me. These people weren't just bad parents. They were criminals who stole someone else's baby and used her as a slave. I waited until they finished talking about their schemes, how they planned to find me, squeeze money from the Hor family, maybe even send Lin Shuang to steal my husband. Then I sent down another wave of dream flowers through the roof tiles. Stronger ones this time. Zhou Ping dropped mid-sentence. Lin Guoxing slumped over, clutching his jar of hidden savings. I did the same to Lin Yang, Lin Chao, and Xinjing's rooms. Everyone in that house fell into a deep, drugged sleep. Then I climbed down and kicked open my parents' bedroom door. I looked at them lying there, the people who stole me, used me, beat me, starved me, and tried to sell me to an idiot. I took off my shoe and slapped them across the face over and over until my arm was tired. I grabbed the jar and emptied every last yuan and every ticket into my space. I burned their bank books, half burned, so they'd see the remains and know exactly what they'd lost. Then I tossed a few lightning balls at their wooden bed, for good measure. Still not satisfied, I threw one at each of them. They screamed in their sleep, but didn't wake. I went to my brother's rooms next. 2 slaps each for Lin Yang and Lin Chao. A small lightning ball to Xinjing's stomach, another to Lin Yang's leg, another to Lin Chao's arm. None of it would kill them, just leave them in pain. I dared heaven to punish me. Go ahead. Strike me down if you think they didn't deserve it. Thunder roared overhead. I decided not to push my luck and headed out. Over the wall, onto my motorcycle, racing back toward the hospital. I was almost at the dormitory when the sky opened up. Pouring rain hit me, and mixed with the electricity still crackling across my skin. The sensation was agonizing, sparks popping everywhere, my whole body buzzing and stinging. I ducked into my space to change into dry clothes. That's when Xiao Ji told me the bad news. Master, your husband woke up. He's outside in the rain looking for you. He seems quite frantic. The dream flower I'd used on Hu Qingxi wasn't strong enough. The thunder must have jolted him awake. He'd searched the room, checked the women's bathroom with a flashlight, and was now running through the downpour calling my name. I threw on a raincoat and burst out of my space. I saw a flashlight beam swinging wildly in the rain nearby. Qingxi. I'm here. Hu Qingxi heard my voice through the rain and came running. When he reached me, he tried to grab my hand. I jumped back. Don't touch me. What's wrong? I'm carrying an electrical charge. If you touch me, you'll get shocked. Let's go upstairs first. Just stay away from me. He wanted to drag me to the hospital for tests, but I insisted I was fine. I ran ahead of him up to the dormitory. He was an ordinary human, the only person in this world who truly cared about me. I couldn't hurt him. Once inside, he asked what happened. I told him the truth. I got struck by lightning. What? What were you doing outside in the middle of the night? I stammered and fumbled for words. Then I made a decision. I would tell him everything. If he betrayed me, I'd fry him with a lightning bolt. But before I could explain, Zexy said gently, "If you don't want to tell me, I won't ask. Just dry your hair first." He'd noticed things, my changed clothes, the unfamiliar raincoat. He knew I had secrets, but he wasn't going to push. That's when I realized this man deserved the truth. I pulled a seed from my space, right in front of him, and used my wood power to grow a vine in my palm instantly. His eyes went wide. This is my secret. I have special abilities. I can make plants grow. I'm not a monster. Please believe me. What he said next nearly knocked me over. Man, I know you're not a monster. Because I have powers too. My hands can heal wounds. And I also have a private space, like a hidden paradise. I stared at him. A space? What kind of space? He handed me a towel to dry off. Without thinking, I reached for it. Our fingertips touched, and the electricity surging through my body shot straight into him. He seized up from the shock, but somehow, in that split second, grabbed my hand and pulled us both into his space. Then, he collapsed on top of me, unconscious. I panicked and shoved him off. He hit the ground hard. Zexy, are you okay? I wanted to touch him, but was terrified of shocking him again. A few seconds later, he came to just long enough to whisper, Man. The medicinal spring pool. He pointed in a direction and blacked out again. I looked where he pointed and saw a small pool with greenish water. I scooped some into a cup from my own storage space and poured it into his mouth. He choked, coughed, and slowly regained feeling in his body. That's when I finally looked around. I was inside his space, and it was beautiful. A true paradise, lush and green. He led me to a bamboo cottage and we sat down to talk properly. He told me he'd had this space since childhood. He'd swallowed a green bead as a little boy, and ever since, his hands could heal any wound by channeling energy from his core. Injuries healed within a day, leaving no scars. No one in his family knew about any of this. I was the first person he'd ever told. That explained something. My chest wound. You didn't fully heal it on purpose, he smiled and nodded. If I healed it completely overnight, the other doctors would have noticed. Haven't you seen the scar getting lighter each day? I can finish healing it now if you want. I raised an eyebrow. I'm still charged with electricity. You sure you want to touch me? Then he asked how I could carry all that voltage without being hurt. I decided to give him the full show. I pointed my right hand at a potted jasmine on the table. Every bud bloomed instantly. Then I pointed my left hand. Zap. A bolt of lightning shattered the pot and scorched the flowers to black. Zexy's jaw dropped. His usual cool composure, completely gone.
What?
What was that? These are my abilities. Right hand, wood power, I can make anything grow. Left hand, lightning. And your healing hands? That's also a type of ability. He stared at me in amazement, then asked the obvious question. If I was this powerful, how did I end up stabbed and hospitalized, bullied by the Lin family all those years? A fair question. One I'd answer. But for now, we just sat there in his secret paradise, two people who'd been hiding impossible truths, finally seeing each other completely. Zexy could tell I had more to explain, so I laid it all out. I told him about the surgery, how my soul left my body while I was under anesthesia and traveled to a future world where I was reborn. I lived there for 23 years before being murdered, pushed off a cliff. He asked if maybe it was just a dream. I shook my head. Dreams don't give you superpowers. So, I told him about the apocalypse. The year 2088. Divine fire falling from the sky, temperatures hitting 60 degrees, glaciers melting, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, acid rain, then extreme cold. People and animals who survived mutated. Some humans developed abilities. The dead became zombies, fast, strong, infectious, with energy crystals in their skulls that could power up ability users. He could barely process it. I gave him the short version of how I died in that world and came back to 1966 with my powers intact. He wanted to hug me. I backed away fast.
Don't.
I'm still carrying electricity. It'll take days to discharge. Stay away from me unless you want to get fried. He looked so frustrated. He couldn't even comfort his own wife. Then he asked the real question, what were you doing at the Lin house tonight? I told him I want to take back the 600 yuan his mother had paid. And then I told him what I'd overheard. I'm not their child, Zexy. Zhou Ping stole me from a hospital 18 years ago. Her real baby was born with a heart defect. She was afraid it wouldn't survive, so she swapped it for a healthy baby from a wealthy family. That healthy baby was me. His face went pale. How could she do that? He was devastated for me. Everything piled on top of everything. 18 years of abuse from people who weren't even my family, getting stabbed, dying in the apocalypse, coming back with powers only to be nearly sold off to an idiot. If he hadn't married me, where would I be now? He asked gently, his voice cracking. Do you want to find your real parents? I laughed bitterly. What's the point? Look at Lin Shuang. She's not their biological daughter either, and they adored her. Maybe I'm just someone who was never meant to have parents. I'd thought it through already. My birth parents had raised Zhou Ping's sick daughter for 18 years, probably showering her with love and protection because of her weak heart. If I showed up now, I'd shatter their peaceful life. The fake daughter might have a medical crisis from the shock. They'd blame me. They might treat me exactly the way the Lins did, acknowledge me on paper, but resent me in their hearts.
18 years, I said.
If they'd really been looking for me, they would have found me by now. We have no fate together. I refuse to play the real versus fake daughter game from those novels. I wasn't going to grovel for affection from strangers just because we shared blood. I wasn't going to compete with some fragile girl for parental love. I'd already lived through that nightmare once with Lin Shuang. I don't want to gamble on human nature, I said, tears falling despite myself. The hardest thing to bet on in this world is whether people will be kind. If I went through the same thing again, being rejected by my own blood, I wouldn't hold back this time. I'd destroy them, even if they were my real parents. Zexy's voice was soft. Then we won't look for them. I'll be your family forever, man. You have me. I wiped my eyes and managed to smile through the tears. You're enough. But if you ever betray me, I'll hang you from a tree with my vines and feed you lightning balls every day until you beg for death. He didn't flinch. He just looked at me with those gentle eyes, and I knew this man wasn't going anywhere. Zexy laughed at my threat about the vines and lightning balls. If I ever upset you, just strip me and throw me on the bed. If you hang me in the air with vines, I can't even move. That's no fun. Pervert. I burst out laughing through my tears. I showed him everything I'd taken from the Lin house, the 600 yuan, plus all the cash and ration tickets Lin Guosheng had hidden in a secret jar. The money appeared out of thin air in front of him. He grinned. So you really did go rob them tonight. Where are you hiding all this? Do you have a space too? I smiled mysteriously. Maybe I do. Then I waved my hand and made everything on the table vanish. His eyes went wide. Now he was sure. He didn't press me for details. Just like I respected his secrets, he respected mine. He probably figured my gold bar story was nonsense and that I'd brought back wealth from the apocalypse. Smart man. Lying there in his space that night, I realized how fast everything had moved between us. Day 1. Crashed his blind date, got married. Day 2. Slept together. Day 3. Revealed all our deepest secrets. We were a perfect match. He had healing hands and a farming space. I had lightning and wood powers plus a storage space full of supplies. He was handsome and brilliant. I was beautiful and resourceful. Don't you think we're perfect for each other? I asked. He laughed softly. Maybe we were husband and wife in a past life. I wanted to marry you the moment I saw you. Tonight, when I dreamed you got struck by lightning, I was terrified. Promise me, wherever you go, tell me first. Don't make me worry like that again. I promise. You're my only family. Since my body was still charged with electricity, we couldn't share a bed. He insisted I sleep in his space rather than my own. He was afraid I'd disappear again. We each took a separate bedroom in his bamboo cottage. Before closing our doors, we gazed at each other longingly. I cursed my lightning power. It even zaps the people I love. The next morning, he told me to stay hidden. The Lin house was wrecked, and he worried they might come looking for me at the hospital. I agreed and planned to spend the day in his space, practicing my wood powers by planting herbs. My abilities only improve with use. I gave him the separation document and asked him to take it to the newspaper office. Since Zhou Ping and Lin Guosheng weren't my biological parents, I wanted it published officially, with an added statement that we share no blood relation. I didn't want them pinning their future crimes on me. Meanwhile, the Lin family was in ruins. Their roof had holes everywhere. The bedroom had caught fire. 600 yuan, their household registration and grain ration booklet, all ash. Their hidden savings jar? I'd emptied it and burned the bank books halfway through. Every person in the house had been struck by my lightning. Not enough to kill, but enough to hurt badly. Lin Chao's hands were burning with pain. Lin Yang's leg was injured. Xinjing took a hit to the stomach. Zhou Ping woke up wailing, her scalp seared. Lin Guosheng was devastated. He'd stupidly pulled out his secret jar right before I knocked them all unconscious again. Now, everything was gone. Zhou Ping blamed me, naturally. She called me a plague, a curse, a disaster. She said ever since I left, their family had been doomed. Lin Shuang struck by lightning, now their house destroyed, their money burned, their bodies injured. Lin Guosheng tried to think practically. They needed to go to the hospital, file a police report about the lightning strike, get replacement documents, and figure out how to withdraw money from the bank with a half-burned savings book. Zhou Ping wailed, "If we take out the savings, what about Chao's future job? His wedding?" Lin Chao sat there in agony, his hands throbbing, thinking, "My parents are arguing about future plans while I'm about to pass out from pain. Can we please just go to the hospital first?" And somewhere across the city, in a secret paradise inside my husband's space, I slept peacefully for the first time in 18 years, knowing that the people who stole me, used me, and tried to sell me had finally gotten exactly what they deserved. The Lin family got sent to the hospital burn unit, every last one of them. Word spread fast through the entire military district. The Lin house got struck by lightning, and the whole family was injured. Lin Shuang heard the news from her hospital bed and immediately suspected me. She was sure I'd used some kind of dark magic to destroy the family. When she found out the money meant for buying her a job had been stolen, she nearly punched a hole through her mattress. She dragged herself to the treatment room to see them. They couldn't even afford to be admitted. They were just getting basic treatment without proper hospital beds. Lin Chao filled her in, groaning through the pain. The house got struck by lightning. Roofs full of holes. Dad and Mom burned their heads. Sister-in-law got hit in the stomach. Big brother's leg is hurt. My hands are messed up. Lin Shuang's eye twitched. The whole family wiped out in one night. Then Lin Chao let something slip. "Oh, and you don't know yet, Lin Man isn't even a real Lin. Mom took her from the hospital." Lin Guosheng cut him off with a shout, but it was too late. Lin Shuang heard enough, and she was thrilled. So the girl she'd hated all these years wasn't even blood-related to the family. No wonder they treated her differently. No wonder she looked nothing like them. Xinjing was screaming in pain, clutching her stomach. She was terrified. She and Lin Yang had been trying for a baby for years with no luck, and now her abdomen had been struck by lightning. She didn't know if she could ever get pregnant. She demanded to be admitted to the hospital properly. Lin Chao piped up. "If sister-in-law gets admitted, I want to be admitted too," Zhou Ping snapped. "With what money? Your sister-in-law sends half her pay to her parents. Your brother barely saves anything." Lin Shuang saw the writing on the wall. They wanted to push her out of the hospital to make room in the budget. Lin Chao, who used to be so sweet to her, was now suggesting she get discharged since she'd been there several days already. She panicked inside. Her scalp wound hadn't healed. What if it scarred? What if her hair never grew back? She came up with a plan. She needed to lock down Yi Chen fast, marry into the Yi family before the Lin family went completely broke. No more just holding hands and kissing. Tonight she'd go to his dormitory with some wine and snacks, throw herself at him, and seal the deal. If he turned down a girl offering herself on a silver platter, he wasn't a real man. Meanwhile, the family started scheming about money. Xinjing suggested finding me and getting cash for my husband. They figured Hu Qingxi was a military doctor, a man of honor who wouldn't refuse a request for help in front of others. Even though they'd cut ties with me, they reasoned they'd raised me for 18 years. Lin Guosheng planned to play the victim and guilt-trip Hu Qingxi into handing over money. A military officer couldn't afford to look heartless in public. He'd pay just to save face. Zhou Ping argued against spending their remaining bank savings. Lin Guosheng said they had no choice. They were broke, injured, and needed to eat. But the bank book was half-burned, so withdrawing money would be a nightmare of paperwork, police reports, and identity verification. It could take a week or more. In the end, the doctors convinced them all to be admitted. Lin Guosheng had bandaged and in agony, now had to file a police report, replace their destroyed household documents, request a salary advance from work, and figure out how to access their bank account with a charred savings book. Both Zhou Ping and Lin Guosheng had their heads shaved for treatment, just like Lin Shuang before them. The whole family was now bald, broke, homeless, and hospitalized. And somewhere in a peaceful bamboo cottage inside a secret paradise, I was sleeping soundly next to the man who loved me, without a single regret. The next morning, the whole hospital was buzzing with gossip about the Lin family getting struck by lightning. Hu Qingxi walked into work and heard his colleagues going at it. Did you hear? Accountant Lin's entire family got hit by lightning last night. Every single one of them got zapped. Their house has holes everywhere, and they lost 700 or 800 yuan in cash, burned to nothing. Why would anyone keep that much cash at home? Hu Qingxi listened quietly, knowing the real story. 600 of that was my separation money that I'd already taken back. He kept his face perfectly cold and expressionless. One doctor asked him, "Dr. Hua, you're a smart man. Why do you think the Lin family got struck by lightning? Every single person." He almost laughed but held it together. "Ask heaven. All I can tell you is they were probably unlucky." Another doctor said, "My mother always says people who get struck by lightning must have done something terrible. The whole family getting hit? They must have really angered the gods." "Perhaps," Hu Qingxi said coolly. The gossip eventually circled around to me, Lin Guosheng's daughter, who'd been nearly married off to an idiot. One doctor even offered his unmarried brother as a match. Hu Qingxi cut that short. "Too late. I already married her. And whether she's actually Lin's biological daughter is questionable. Either way, she's cut ties with them." The doctors were stunned. But Hu Qingxi shut down the chatter and got everyone back to work. Then, around 11 o'clock, Lin Guosheng showed up. He barged into the doctor's office with his head wrapped in bandages like a mummy, looking absolutely ridiculous. He spotted Hu Qingxi and immediately switched to a groveling smile. "Son-in-law, I need to borrow 300 yuan. Our family's had a disaster. Could you also ask Man to come home?" The audacity. This man collected 600 yuan to disown me, and now he wanted to borrow money? Hu Qingxi stared at him coldly. "Didn't you sever your relationship with my wife? You took our 600 yuan separation fee. That money burned up in the fire. That's not our problem. You're an accountant. Go request a salary advance from your finance department." Lin Guosheng's face darkened instantly. The fake politeness vanished. "I don't care. You give me 400 yuan right now, or I'll report you both for being unfilial. I'll get you fired." Hu Qingxi slowly took off his glasses. His beautiful eyes turned ice cold. "Is my wife your biological daughter? If she is, how could you treat her the way you did, making her a servant, trying to sell her to an idiot? No real parent does that. If heaven didn't strike you, I would have wanted to myself." Lin Guosheng sputtered. "We let her go to school. We raised her. Asking for a little money now is just repayment. She got into college because she's brilliant, not because of you. Her teachers had to beg you to let her continue school. And look at her. She's 172 centimeters tall with big double-lidded eyes. She looks nothing like you or your wife. Do you dare swear to heaven that she's really your daughter? Don't worry, you're experienced with lightning by now. It won't kill you. Just another hospital visit." The other doctors watched in awe. The normally silent, composed Dr. Hua had a razor-sharp tongue when provoked. Lin Guosheng couldn't get a word in. Hu Qingxi delivered the final blow. "Even if you're not her real parents, we gave you 600 yuan for 18 years of raising her. As for the abuse you put her through, we won't pursue it. Heaven already punished you. Consider yourselves lucky we're letting it go. Lin Guosheng stormed out, humiliated and empty-handed. The doctors turned to Huqingxi with amazed grins. We had no idea you could be so savage, Dr.
Hua.
Is your wife really not their biological child? You tell me, he said flatly. He then excused himself to run an errand. He'd promised me he'd go to the newspaper office to publish my separation statement, including the declaration that I share no blood relation with the Lin family. After Lin Guosheng's shameless stunt, there was no point waiting until afternoon. He headed out immediately. He had contacts at the paper. By tomorrow, the whole city would know that Lin Man had nothing to do with the Lin family, not by choice, and not by blood. Huqingxi rushed to the newspaper office that morning to publish my separation statement, then came back to the dormitory at 12:30. He locked the door and slipped into his space to find me. Man, time to eat. I've been having the time of my life all morning. Honestly, it's unfair. Heaven gave this man everything. Good looks, a great family, healing hands, and a farming space. Meanwhile, I have wood and lightning powers but no space to grow things in. My storage space can only hold items, not cultivate them. So, I'd taken matters into my own hands. I used my lightning to burn away the wild grass on his unused land, turning it to ash for fertilizer. Then I pulled out a tilling machine from my storage space and plowed 10 acres. I planted 1 acre of strawberries, plots of watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew, 2 acres of grapes, half an acre each of corn, sweet potatoes, and peanuts, 1 acre of mixed vegetables, and filled the rest with wheat. When Huqingxi saw his space transformed into lush green farmland, his jaw dropped. You did all this? How? Powers plus machinery. But my energy's drained. I need to rest this afternoon. Over lunch, braised pig trotters from the same restaurant where we'd first met, he told me about his morning. He'd already submitted the separation notice to the newspaper. It would be published tomorrow, and he'd buy 2 copies to keep. Then he mentioned that Lin Guosheng had come to his office begging for money. The man wanted 300 or 400 yuan for hospital fees. Huqingxi refused, and Lin Guosheng threatened to report us for being unfilial. Huqingxi tore him apart with words until the man stormed off humiliated. I was furious just hearing about it. You should have kicked him out physically. I can't afford to give my rivals ammunition, he said quietly. If something happens to me, you'd be all alone. I have to stay safe for you. That hit me hard. He wasn't just thinking about himself anymore. After lunch, I took him on a tour of the newly planted fields. I'd used my wood power to ripen the entire acre of strawberries and a few watermelon and melon plants. My level 3 wood ability could only do so much in one go. Let's pick strawberries. I'll make jam and dried fruit this afternoon. He was amazed. You grew and ripened these in one morning? My classmate's family had a few strawberry plants and guarded them like treasure. I grinned. With me around, just tell me what fruit you want. Can you grow lychee and cherries? So my husband has a sweet tooth. I looked around his space. Acres and acres of nothing but medicinal herbs and decorative flowers. Why didn't you ever plant food here? He looked sheepish. An old immortal appeared in my dreams when I was little and told me to grow medicine and help people. That's why I became a military doctor. I was afraid if I planted other things, the immortal would take the space away. I burst out laughing. But look, I've planted all sorts of things and nobody's taken it away. From now on, we plant whatever we want. We'll keep the herbs too, of course. Can't disrespect the old immortal. He told me the spring pool water made his herbs grow faster and more potent. The healing ointment he'd given me for my soreness after our first time was made from herbs grown with that spring water. It really had worked wonders. I asked if soaking in the pool might discharge my electricity. He said he used to soak in it when exhausted. It refreshed the body and strengthened health. We agreed. I'd try it while he was at work. I picked an oversized strawberry and handed it to him. He bit into it without even washing it. Incredibly sweet. Then I teased him. Call me big sister and I'll plant you 2 lychee trees and 2 cherry trees tomorrow. He shook his head with a smile. Call me big brother and I'll give you my entire antique collection. Oh? He collected antiques too. No wonder money meant nothing to him.
I've got antiques of my own, I shot back.
Call you brother, will you give me your life? Call me darling brother, and my life is yours, darling brother. And there, standing in a field of ripe strawberries, inside a hidden paradise, we smiled at each other like two fools who'd somehow found exactly what they needed in this ridiculous world. My darling brother made Huiqingxi's heart tremble. He looked at me like he wanted to devour me, but the electricity still crackling across my skin kept him at bay. The frustration on his face was hilarious. Stop daydreaming and pick strawberries, I ordered. I'm making jam this afternoon. We filled several baskets before he had to leave for work. He told me to stay hidden inside the space. Lin Guosheng was still sniffing around the hospital looking for money. I agreed. No point going outside when I had no job and trouble waiting for me. Before he left, I asked him to buy some chicks and ducklings before we left Beijing, 20 chickens and 10 ducks for the space. We'd need to fence them in so they wouldn't destroy the crops. I also told him not to bother getting dinner from the cafeteria. Tonight, we're having hot pot. He looked confused. His bamboo cottage had no kitchen. I waved my hand, and a full mobile kitchen unit appeared on the open ground. His eyes went wide. That's a multifunction kitchen. You can explore it tonight. The moment he was gone, I stripped down and jumped into the medicinal spring pool. The second I hit the water, I felt eyes on me. Someone was watching. I shouted furiously, "Who's there?
Come out."
Peep at me bathing and I'll gouge your eyes out." The feeling vanished instantly. I had a strong suspicion it was Huiqingxi. That man must have some kind of spiritual awareness tied to his space. I'd deal with him later. The soak was miraculous. When I climbed out, my depleted wood power had fully recovered and all the excess electricity had been absorbed. My body was completely discharge-free. If I'd known, I would have jumped in last night and saved myself all that suffering. This spring pool was a treasure. From now on, whenever my powers were drained, or I was injured, or I'd absorbed too much lightning, straight into the pool. I smiled to myself, feeling possessive and proud. Huiqingxi was mine. His space was mine. His spring pool was mine. Anyone who tried to touch what was mine would answer to me. And if he ever betrayed me, I'd turn him into a ghost. Oh, my terrifying possessiveness. I laughed. Huiqingxi, meeting me was the end for you. Back at the hospital, Huiqingxi sneezed. His colleague Dr. Zhang teased him. Your wife must be thinking about you. Huiqingxi smiled.
Probably.
My man is young. She can't bear being apart from me. Then he fired back. You haven't sneezed in a while, Dr. Zhang. Your wife must have forgotten you exist. She only remembers me on payday. The rest of the time, all she thinks about is what to eat. Being able to eat is a blessing, Huiqingxi said warmly. He was thinking about me. How I ate as much as he did, completely unashamed. That's what he loved. No pretense, no performance. Meanwhile, Lin Guosheng, rejected by Huiqingxi, went straight to the hospital director's office to complain. He called Huiqingxi his son-in-law and accused him of being heartless and mocking him. The director wasn't having it. Since when is Huiqingxi your son-in-law? And who gave you permission to badmouth him? Do you know what level salary he earns? He draws the same pay as a regimental commander. He's developed 2 medicinal formulas for this hospital, donated medicines to the state, and saved countless lives. He's from a family of martyrs. 2 uncles died on the battlefield as teenagers. His grandfather is the district military commander. You think you can cause trouble for him? Lin Guosheng gritted his teeth. High salary and still wouldn't lend him a cent. What good is a high salary if he's unfilial? The director nearly exploded. Are you his father? No? Then what right do you have to demand filial piety?
Get out of my office.
And if you don't want your job anymore, just say the word. I'll approve your resignation right now. Lin Guosheng slunk away with his tail between his legs. He couldn't touch Huiqingxi. Nobody at this hospital could. And he was slowly learning what I'd already figured out. The man I'd married wasn't just handsome and kind. He was untouchable. Back at the hospital, Lin Guosheng was fuming after getting shut down by both Huiqingxi and the director. He couldn't believe I'd landed such a powerful husband. He kept muttering about how I'd always been lucky, good at school, teachers loved me, got into college, caught the Yi family's eye, and now married, even better. Why did he ever agree to let me go? Zhou Ping wailed when she heard there was no money coming. Her crying made her burned scalp throb even worse. Lin Guosheng finally snapped at her. Stop howling. Your tears won't produce money. Then he said something I never expected. This is all Lin Shuang's fault. She's a jinx. She killed her own parents and now she's cursing us. She was the first one struck by lightning. She brought this disaster on our whole family. The only reason we were safe before was because Lin Man's good luck was protecting us. Zhou Ping couldn't believe it. How can you blame Shuang? She's an orphan. This is all Lin Man's fault. If that brat had just married Wang Bauer like we told her, none of this would have happened. Lin Guosheng cut her off. Enough. If you want to keep Lin Shuang, marry her off to the Yi family fast and get some bride price money. We can't afford to feed her anymore. Reality had finally caught up with him. Their savings were nearly wiped out. Their younger son still needed a job someday, and eventually a wife. Lin Shuang was now a financial burden they couldn't carry. The love he'd transferred onto her, the love meant for his own lost daughter, couldn't survive an empty wallet. He warned himself to stop causing trouble. If he lost his job, they'd have to crawl back to the countryside and farm. He'd clawed his way out of rural poverty. He wasn't going back. Lin Shuang heard that Lin Guosheng failed to get money and cursed him as useless in her heart. She decided she had to lock down Yi Chen immediately. She'd saved a few dozen yuan over the years, enough to buy some wine and snacks. Tonight she'd go to his dormitory and offer herself to him. No more just holding hands. Meanwhile, I was having the best afternoon of my life inside Huaqingxi's space. After my soak in the medicinal spring, which fully recharged my wood power and absorbed all the excess electricity from my body, I got to work planting fruit trees. I couldn't use my apocalypse-era mutant seeds here. Those things were terrifying. Vampire vines that drain your blood dry. Mutant watermelons the size of small cars that suck all nutrients from the soil. Pumpkins that transform into vehicles. Explosive fruits that shoot seeds at your face like bullets. Even the animals from that world were nightmares. Chickens that could fly and attack. Rabbits taller than humans that ate people instead of grass. Snails with shells bigger than tents. Thank heavens I made it back to the 1960s. No zombies, no mutant beasts, just peaceful sleep every night. Instead, I used normal fruit seeds from my storage space's frozen supermarket section. I cracked open lychees, peaches, cherries, bayberries, longans, loquats, pomegranates, durians, mangosteens, and more, extracting the pits and using my wood power to sprout them into seedlings. At my current level 3, I could force grow 5 trees to full maturity per day. I chose 1 lychee, 1 bayberry, 1 peach, 1 loquat, and 1 cherry tree. I tried a durian seedling too, but it was stubborn and drained too much energy, so I gave up on that one. Looking at the fruit-laden trees standing where empty land had been that morning, I smiled with satisfaction. I spent the whole afternoon processing fruit, drying lychees in their shells, making lychee and loquat compote, candying bayberries and strawberries into preserved fruit, and boiling small strawberries into jam. My husband loved sweets. I'd make sure he never ran out. At 5 o'clock, I grabbed a small propeller boat from my space and motored to the center of the pond. I tossed in some bait, and fish swarmed from every direction. 3 scoops with a net got me a grass carp, a big head carp, a 2-pound common carp, and over 20 small crucian carp. I made a full fish feast. Crucian carp soup, sweet and sour carp, chopped chili fish head, braised fish body, and Sichuan boiled fish. Huaqingxi entered the space just as I was setting the table. He stared at the spread in amazement. Didn't we agree I'd cook tonight? I even bought noodles. I had nothing to do, so I just made dinner. Where did all this fish come from? Your pond. Don't tell me you didn't know there were fish in there. He admitted he'd tried fishing before but barely caught anything. I laughed. You were using a fishing rod? I just threw bait and scooped them up with a net. Tell me whenever you want fish. I'll catch them for you. Huaqingxi was impressed by my cooking. He insisted on doing all future meals himself so I could rest. I protested. That makes me useless. But he said a woman who could grow plants, catch fish, and cook amazing food was anything but useless. After dinner, I took him to see the 5 fruit trees I'd grown that day. When I grabbed his hand to lead him, he noticed immediately. "You're not carrying a charge anymore." The medicinal spring fixed everything. All the excess electricity got absorbed. I could practically see the gears turning in his head. "Tonight we can sleep together again." This man had just discovered physical intimacy days ago and was already insatiable. He marveled at the giant bayberries hanging from one of the trees. "These are the size of ping-pong balls." I told him they were called donkue bayberries, extra sweet, not the tiny sour kind. He popped one in his mouth and said he could eat a whole pound. We picked baskets of bayberries, cherries, loquats, peaches, and lychees. He admitted he regretted not trying to grow food in his space sooner. He'd been afraid the old immortal from his dreams would take the space away. All those wasted years growing nothing but herbs and flowers. He was already planning ahead: chickens, ducks, geese, maybe pigs, sheep, even a cow or 2. This space was about to become a full farm. We packed up the return gifts for his relatives: towels, fabric, candy, biscuits, and baskets of fresh fruit, and headed out to visit his maternal grandfather's family. On the way downstairs, I spotted a familiar figure slipping into the dormitory building. Lin Shuang, heading toward Yi Chen's room. Hu Qingxi noticed my smirk. "What's funny? I think I just saw Lin Shuang going to Yi Chen's dorm. The Lin family can't support her anymore, so she's probably going to offer herself to him tonight." Classic Lin Shuang. When one safety net fails, she latches onto the next host. Tonight there'd be a show. We bumped into Hu Qingxi's colleagues downstairs. After we walked away hand in hand, I overheard them teasing. "He's holding her hand for a walk. Is he afraid she'll get lost? And if my wife were that pretty, I'd tie her my belt." I got embarrassed and tried to pull my hand free, worried someone might report us for improper behavior. Hu Qingxi held tight. "We have a marriage certificate. Holding hands is perfectly legal." As we walked, he told me about his grandfather's family home, a 2-courtyard compound where both uncles lived with their families. His older uncle had 2 married sons, and his younger uncle had 2 sons still looking for wives. It was a full, bustling household. Then I asked about the Hu family's 4-courtyard compound and whether Grandpa Hu had divided the property. That's when Hu Qingxi revealed something surprising. "My grandfather is very traditional. Since my first and second great-uncles died young in battle with no heirs, he adopted me into my first great-uncle's family line on paper. That makes me the eldest grandson of the Hu family, and the compound is mine to inherit. What about your second great-uncle's line?" At first, nobody wanted to give up their sons to be adopted under a dead man's name. But after my little brother was born, my father registered my second brother, Hu Qingyan, under my second great-uncle's line. So, Hu Qingxi's father had given away both his older sons. On paper, one to each fallen brother, keeping only little Qinghuan under his own name. It was a way of honoring the martyrs and keeping their family lines alive. I did the math in my head. In 20 or 30 years, that 4-courtyard compound in Beijing would be worth an absolute fortune. I wondered if the 4th and 5th aunts might cause trouble over the inheritance someday. But that was a problem for the future. For now, I was walking through the warm summer evening, hand in hand with my husband, carrying baskets of impossible fruit from a secret paradise, on our way to visit family who actually wanted me around. Not bad for a stolen baby turned apocalypse survivor turned flash bride. As we walked to his grandfather's family home, I couldn't help thinking about the Hu family inheritance. Hu Qingxi's 4th and 5th uncles both had housing through the military, but their families were growing. Grandpa Hu had declared that the 4-courtyard compound would go to Hu Qingxi alone, and I was sure the aunts had opinions about that. "Don't your 4th aunt and 5th aunt have complaints?" I asked. "Some, yes, especially the aunts. But my uncles respect Grandpa's wishes. He says the compound can't be divided. If you split it, someone will sell their piece for quick money. It's the ancestral home of the Hu family, passed from eldest son to eldest grandson, generation after generation. While Grandpa's alive, everyone can live there. After he's gone, it's mine." That put pressure on me. If I didn't produce a son who would inherit the compound, who would carry on the family line? What if we only have daughters? I asked carefully. Then we only have daughters. We have decades ahead of us. The tradition of adoption into a dead ancestor's line exists, mainly so someone will tend the grave and burn incense after you die, but I wasn't so casual about the afterlife. If ghosts and reincarnation didn't exist, how did my soul travel to the apocalypse and back? No, I needed to give him at least one son. For the ancestral offerings, for the inheritance, for peace of mind. My plan: 3 children, 1 boy, 2 girls.
Perfect.
Let's have 3 kids, I said. 1 son, 2 daughters, he smiled. Whatever we have is fine. But let's wait until you're 20. Then it hit me. We hadn't used any protection. Not once.
Zexy.
We didn't take any precautions. What if I'm already pregnant? His face changed. He asked when my last period was. Half a month ago. He did the math and went quiet. We'd been together right in my fertile window. If there's a baby, we keep it, I said firmly. It's our first child. I won't risk my health with a procedure. You're only 18. My classmate's cousin got pregnant at 15 and gave birth before 16. Rural girls get married without even registering, just 100 yuan and 400 pounds of rice, and they're sent off. He squeezed my hand. Don't worry. Our marriage is legally protected. Military marriages can't be dissolved easily. I rolled my eyes internally. That law protected him, not me. If I wanted a divorce, I'd face a wall of people talking me out of it. If I were unfaithful, I'd be criminally charged with destroying a military marriage. But if he cheated? Just a slap on the wrist, a moral issue, and maybe a minor disciplinary action. He noticed my expression and said softly, "Marriage is forever. I'll never let you leave me, and if you fall for some other woman someday and force me to divorce, once I marry someone, I'm responsible for her for life. A man who can't control his body or his heart doesn't deserve to be called a man." Good answer. But if you ever cheat, I'll make sure you can never function as a man again. He laughed helplessly. What he didn't tell me, and what I'd only learn later, was that he had an almost obsessive emotional purity. He couldn't accept betrayal, couldn't imagine having feelings for 2 people. If I ever left him, he wouldn't forgive me, and it would destroy him. We walked hand in hand through the darkening streets toward the Xiao family compound. I peppered him with questions about the relatives we were about to visit, personalities, family dynamics, things to avoid saying. I was young, but I wasn't stupid. 20-some minutes later, we arrived. I stood lookout while Zexy pulled the gifts from his space, matching towel sets, fabric, candy, and biscuits for each uncle's family, baskets of fresh lychees and bayberries, wine, tea, and 2 wool sweaters for his grandparents. I'd chosen those sweaters carefully from my space as return gifts for the red envelopes I'd received. I didn't know the old couple's shoe sizes, so warm clothes seemed safest. For Grandpa Hua, I planned something more personal. I'd knit him a thick sweater by hand and sew him a new padded winter jacket. That old man had lost 2 sons to war, buried his wife years ago, and spent his life steering his family through every storm alone. Now he was sending his eldest grandson to a remote island to keep him safe from political chaos. The commander of the Hainan military garrison, Lu Zheng, was his old war buddy. That's why he chose that specific island. It was too far for political troublemakers to reach, and Zexy could build merit by providing medical care where it was desperately needed. Grandpa Hua had thought of everything. The least I could do was knit the man a sweater. Zexy knocked on the Xiao family gate. His second uncle Xiao Yi opened up and grinned. "Well, look who brought his new bride." "Good evening, second uncle," I said. He grabbed the fruit baskets from Zexy and ushered us inside. Grandpa Xiao and Grandma Yang came out to greet us, along with the rest of the household. When Grandma Yang took my hand, she asked how we'd gotten here with so much stuff. I blurted out, "Zexy's supervisor gave us a ride." Zexy shot me a look and smoothly adjusted. We ran into someone we knew, and they offered us a lift. We could hardly admit we'd walked 30 minutes and magically produced all these gifts from thin air. Grandma Yang immediately started fussing. "Have you eaten? Xiao Yun, stop doing laundry. Make them each 2 eggs in brown sugar water. Extra sugar. Zexy likes it sweet. Brown sugar egg soup. My worst nightmare. I hate eggs cooked that way." Grandma, we ate so much tonight, we really can't. Eat a little anyway. It's just eggs. And you're staying the night. Huiqingxi quickly declined the overnight stay. We had things to do. His second uncle didn't wait for my answer and went straight to the kitchen to make the eggs himself. The whole family trickled out. Xiao Yanzhong and Xiao Feiyue came with their wives. Even shy little Xiao Yunxia, second uncle's youngest daughter, peeked out and whispered, "Hello, cousin-in-law." She was my age, barely a few months younger, but hunched over with her head down, timid as a mouse. Her father was so outgoing. I couldn't understand why she was this withdrawn. I handed her the return gifts for their family. "Here, take these. The fabric is for you. Make yourself a pretty skirt. Young girls should wear bright colors." Huiqingxi laughed. Man, she's the same age as you. You're only a few months older." I puffed out my chest. A few months older is still older. She's the little one. Yunxia stared at my chest with wide eyes. I could tell she was wondering how mine had gotten so much bigger than hers. I cleared my throat. "Yunxia, take the gifts to your room." "Thank you, cousin-in-law," she scurried off. We gave first uncle's family their set of gifts too. Then Huiqingxi presented the 2 wool sweaters I'd prepared. "Grandpa, Grandma, these are from Man." Grandpa Xiao frowned with concern. "These are too expensive. Save your money. You don't even have children yet." Grandma Yang elbowed him. "Oh, hush." Huiqingxi promised to work hard and provide a good life for me and our future children. I understood. Old people worry. They always tell you to save. But in my mind, if you have money and don't spend it, you're a fool. What if you die tomorrow and some other woman ends up sleeping in your bed, spending your savings and mistreating your kids? Spend it while you can. Then the aunts descended. First Aunt Deng Qiuling and second Aunt Chen Sufin treated me like a long-lost daughter, chattering non-stop. The younger wives, Tian Xian and Tang Yuro, kept jumping in too. My ears were ringing. 3 women make a full opera, and these 4 could fill a theater. They'd barely let me sit down before launching into baby talk. When to conceive, how to pick the right day for a boy versus a girl, what to eat while pregnant. Tian Xian at least had a child already, but Tang Yuro was still pregnant with her first. Where was she getting all this expertise? I just smiled and nodded. "You're so right. I'll definitely learn from you. That's amazing." Repeat. Mercifully, Huiqingxi appeared with a bowl of brown sugar eggs. Man, eat a little, then we'll head home." I despised the stuff, but refusing would hurt Grandma's feelings. I choked down 1 egg, and Huiqingxi finished the rest, drinking right from my bowl without hesitation. Grandma Yang smiled at that. Apparently, Huiqingxi had been a germaphobe since childhood. If someone took a bite of his apple, he'd hand them the whole thing rather than eat after them. Even his own parents. But here he was, happily sharing my leftovers without blinking. Looks like I'd cured him of that particular quirk. After Huiqingxi and I left the Xiao house, the family erupted into chatter, mostly about me and the gifts. Grandma Yang admired the wool sweaters. Qingxi's wife is so thoughtful, buying us winter clothes. Tian Xian, the older grandson's wife, immediately tried to diminish me. She doesn't even have a job. Where would she get money for such nice sweaters? Her husband obviously bought them. Grandma Yang shut that down. Qingxi said Man chose them and paid for them herself. Look at the towels and fabric she picked. The patterns are beautiful. Women have better taste than men. Then the real show started. Tian Xian and Tang Yuro, the 2 grandsons' wives, divided up the towels and fabric right in front of their mother-in-law, Deng Qiuling. One claimed the bright fabric was perfect for her toddler's dress. The other said she'd use the big towel as a baby blanket for her unborn child. They left Deng Qiuling the candy and biscuits, knowing full well that with a toddler and a pregnant woman in the house, she'd never touch them herself. Poor Deng Qiuling seethed quietly. 2 daughters-in-law were harder to manage than 1. If she pushed back on both, they'd team up against her. If she favored one, the other would cry to her husband about unfairness. Grandma Yang watched the whole scene with a knowing smile. Now you understand what it's like. Then came the fruit. The lychees were so fresh, they still had leaves attached. Grandma Yang was puzzled. Where in Beijing could you find lychees this fresh in summer? She guessed Commander who must have had them shipped from the south. Grandpa Xiao popped a bayberry into his mouth and froze.
This.
This is a bayberry? Why is it so big and sweet? He immediately started hoarding them, passing one to his wife. Grandma Yang tried the bayberry too. It's huge. What variety is this? Must be from another province. Probably a tribute fruit, Commander, who must have gotten them at a leadership meeting in Zongnanhai. She told her sons to try some. Both refused politely. Mom, those are expensive. You and Dad enjoy them. Typical. These two men were the self-sacrificing type, always letting their wives and children eat first. They claimed real men didn't need fruit. Grandma Yang forced a big cup of bayberries on each son, anyway. Then grandson Xiao Feiyue, the shameless one, started grabbing handfuls for his pregnant wife. Honey, these are so sweet. Our baby will love them. Taste them for him. He stuffed a pile into Tangyuro's arms. Tion Xian saw that Grandma wasn't stopping him, so she smoothly snatched several bayberries too, handing some to her husband and one to her little daughter. Chew slowly, spit out the pit. Second Aunt Chen Sufin quietly picked up her cup of bayberries and excused herself. Grandma Yang sent second uncle to carry everything back to their room. Show over. Everyone retreated to their corners with their spoils. Later, in their bedroom, Tang Yuro rubbed her belly and sighed. Your cousin is so capable. That Lin man hit the jackpot. I should have introduced my sister to him. Xiao Feiyue laughed. You think my handsome, elite, military family cousin would want to be brothers-in-law with me? Your sister dropped out after one semester of middle school. You only finished 1 year yourself. My cousin is a highly educated military officer. His standards are high. And, honestly, look at his wife. What ordinary woman compares to her looks and figure? He wasn't being cruel, just realistic. I might have a messy family background, but I'd gotten into a top university and completed 2 years before the movement shut everything down. I'd even skipped a grade or 2 growing up. As he put it, don't let her age fool you. That girl is something else.